Hello, welcome. Um, my name is Preston Jacobs, and we're here to talk about some ice and fire and other shit, whatever you want. Uh, yeah. I apologize if I start coughing in fits. I have children, and they're constantly sick, and they get me sick. But let's talk about Azor Ahai and is he the friends that we made along the way, which is weirdly one of the prevailing theories when you start talking about like the last hero and his companions, by the way. But the friends we made along the way. But let's talk about Azor Ahai. When I first joined the fandom, when I first finished the books and went online at that cliffhanger of John getting stabbed and wanted to figure out what was going on and what was going to happen next, and if other people thought that the pink letter was a fake like I had. I went into the boards, and it was a different time back then. The fandom has grown and has diversified and has gotten interested in other things. A whole plethora of things. But at the time, for the most part, there were two types of threads in the Westeros.org forum. The first place I looked when I was a young a young fan, and those two threads were R plus L equals J and who is Azor Ahai, who are the three heads of the dragon kind of stuff. That was essentially it. That was literally, I'm not exaggerating, that was 90% of the posts that existed. The people just talking about those two issues over and over and over again. And so I've been a little resistant in talking about Azor Ahai, but I was like, you know what? Let's talk about it a little bit here, because I think I think I can shed some new light, or at least not new light, at least place it in a new scope for you all. Because, and this is important, because I realize that I, as an old man who can't remember I can't remember the first time I saw Star Wars. I can't remember the first time I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark. So those stories and all of the information of those stories never unfolded to me in a linear fashion. I always just had the story in my head. I never understood how it happened. Like, what was that first feeling of finding out, or Empire Strikes Back, I don't remember, like of Darth Vader being Luke's father. I never knew because it was never a surprise to me, or if it were, I don't remember. And a lot of times we forget, with all of our theorizing and talking about stuff, about the order of the information given to us and what our author was thinking about at the time. So let's start and talk about the first book. All right, A Game of Thrones. And let's talk about Azor Ahai. Keep in mind, George started writing A Game of Thrones in 1991. He finished it. It was published in 1996. There is not a single mention of Azor Ahai or the Prince that was promised in A Game of Thrones. That was not something that was ever part of his story. Okay, he doesn't mention it in any So Spake Martins. He doesn't mention it in his outline. Azor Ahai and the importance of somebody fulfilling some sort of grand prophecy is not part of this book or part of his original design. And now, in A Game of Thrones, there's the story of the last hero, which, is about some person that's searching for the children of the forest, and he's got some companions and stuff. And there's the story of the stallion that mounts the world. And the stallion that mounts the world, although it's hinted at that it could be Daenerys, because there's talk of like the stallion uniting everyone in the world. The characters in story clearly all think it's Rhaego. And yeah, you can get some hints that Daenerys is the chosen one. Daenerys is the chosen one based on those kind of prophecy aspects. But after Game of Thrones, the Stallion of the Mounts of the World prophecy kind of disappears. Not to be mentioned again. You know, like it's mentioned once in A Dance with Dragons. Dany brings it up because we briefly hear about a Giscari prophecy about the dragon and the harpy, like producing a child that will save the world, and she kind of thinks of it in her head. But this idea that, you know, there's some loose idea there is with the Stallion that Dany is the fulfilling of a prophecy, that she's more than just a random throwaway sister of Viserys. She's something special. And when she hatches her dragons and everything, it's beneath a big comet. It's a big fucking deal. It's a BFD. And considering that, you know, when you look at the structure of a Game of Thrones, you've got others at the beginning and hatching of dragons at the end, and we just kind of think of this ice and fire, and we kind of have this idea that the dragons are going to be used to somehow fight the ice zombies. But that's the end of it. I mean, and interestingly enough, I mean, since the World of Ice and Fire came out, and that's kind of an important book and how it shifts the fandom's thinking, like that book presents this unified prophecy story that all the prophecies are talking about the same fucking thing. And so in that sense, like maybe you can retroactively say that the Stallion that mounts the world and the last hero are Azor Ahai. However, there is nothing similar. There's no, and this is an important thing that I'm going to bring up. There's nothing that's actually similar about any of these tales. I mean, besides that there's a single person in them that's really important, that's supposed to like fight evil. There's nothing about any of these tales that's similar. I mean, maybe, you know, uniting people, maybe you could say, but even that, like, it's not really mentioned. So keep that in mind, that George, in his big plan, if you're thinking that George has a master plan, back in the Game of Thrones, he didn't fucking think about it. Was not brought up once. Tower of Joy, R plus L Jade, Lyanna and her blue roses, Harrenhal. No Azor Ahai, no prince that was promised. Okay, so moving on, we get to Clash of Kings. Now, A Clash of Kings is the first time we hear about Azor Ahai. And we hear about Azor Ahai in the context of Stannis and Stannis alone. However, keep in mind that the Azor Ahai prophecy, as presented in A Clash of Kings, is very different from what we're going to get later. And how he's talked about is different as what we're going to get later. So there is no mention that Azor Ahai is the prince that was promised. There's no mention of Azor Ahai hatching dragons. There's no mention of the bleeding star. There's no mention of salt and smoke in A Clash of Kings. Azor Ahai is going to come again. He's the son of fire. He's a warrior of light. He is... And you get this long story that Salador Sand tells about... People call it the Nisa prophecy. And it's so broad and weird that I've never seen anyone convincingly apply it to anything. You know, essentially, Azor Ahai, he labored, sleepless in a temple, forging a blade. He hammered it, and then he plunged it into water, and it broke. And then he did it again for 50 days, and he plunged it into a lion, and it exploded. And you kind of go, okay, oh, a lion. Oh, then maybe that means Lannister. Oh, okay. Well, what does the water mean? No one has any clue what the water means. And then the last one, the 100 Days, is like Nisa, and he plunges it into her chest, and the moon cracks. Maybe you could claim that the moon cracking thing is similar to the Karth dragon birth story or whatever, but that's all you get. That's all you get. This story that I've never seen anyone in all of my years and all of my theorizing come up with a very good idea on what this Azor Ahai story about him plunging the sword 3 times is. Some people kind of go, oh, well, Jon stabs Dany at the end, so he stabs his Nisa, and you go, okay, great. With his sword? Because in the show, he just uses a dagger. It's not like he pulls out Longclaw and goes... and say it is his sword, okay, when did he plunge anything into a lion? And when did he plunge anything into water? What the fuck are we talking about? At this point, you can just plunge shit, you can just find shit and just apply it if you want, but nothing really fits. Now, that's Azor Ahai is going on one hand. Okay. On the other hand, A Clash of Kings is also the first time we hear about the prince that was promised. And the prince that was promised is, Dany goes to the House of the Undying. She sees the vision of Rhaegar. Rhaegar says that there will be another. The dragon has 3 heads. Yada, yada, yada. So, on one hand, we have prince that was promised. Dragon has 3 heads. Okay. And then on the other hand, we've got a story about a dude who plunges his sword into water, a lion, and his lover. And the sword keeps exploding. Okay. Utterly no similarity between these stories. 0 fucking similarity between these stories. No one on earth would ever say that these 2 stories are the same fucking story. Nobody. That's A Clash of Kings. And so now we're up to 1998, right? Well, now let's get to Storm. Storm of Swords comes out. Okay, Storm of Swords. Out of fucking nowhere, the Azor Ahai prophecy is suddenly born beneath a bleeding star, waking dragons from stone. Now, of course, it's impossible to read born beneath a bleeding star. I mean, the comet was called the Bleeding Star by Dany. But of course, she's reborn before the Bleeding Star and waking dragons from stone. Well, her stone eggs, it's impossible that anyone would not all of a sudden be like, oh shit, the Azor Ahai prophecy is about Dany. Boom. But this is from fucking nowhere. Nowhere in A Clash of Kings. When Salladhor Saan sat Davos down and was like, I am going to tell you all about Azor Ahai. Would you like to know about Azor Ahai? And Davos is like, sure. And we get our fucking 2 pages of Salladhor Saan explaining, exposing, doing his exposition on what Azor Ahai is. Nowhere in the fucking 2 pages does he explain Bleeding Star, Salt and Smoke, or hatching dragons from stone. Comes out of fucking nowhere. All of a sudden, in A Storm of Swords, these 2 completely unrelated stories, completely fucking unrelated, are now the same fucking thing, obviously. And that we're just hit with that. And then Mel makes it to the wall and starts talking to Maester Aemon, and she's talking about Azor Ahai, and Maester Aemon's like, but who's the prince that was promised? And all of a sudden, we're like, oh, these are the same stories somehow. I mean, the equivalent of, imagine if someone were like, okay, well, we've got the story of Oedipus and we've got the story of Aladdin. And then somebody's like, yeah, no, Aladdin and Oedipus are the same fucking guy. You'd be like, how? Like, what? One is about a guy who like kills his dad and marries his mom, and the other is about a kid that finds a magic lamp that wishes him 3 wishes. They're completely fucking utterly different. And then for suddenly the story out of fucking nowhere to be like, boom, same dude. Oedipus, Aladdin, same fucking dude. Our mind is supposed to be blown or something, you know? And so this goes on a bit. Now, of course, once we hear this, your mind is supposed to go Danny, 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 Danny all the fucking day long, you know? And maybe if you're focused on the R plus L equals J, and you're connecting it back to the prince that was promised, you're thinking about John, and you're thinking maybe dragons have 3 heads, maybe the Azor Ahai has 3 people, all that thing. Okay. Anyway, it's never explicitly said in the Storm of Swords that Danny is supposed to fulfill this, but it's pretty strongly implicitly. And then, in case it wasn't strong enough, in A Feast for Crows, it's explicitly said. Maester Aemon is on his boat and he's like, holy shit, Danny is Azor Ahai. Danny's the prince that was promised. Like, he fucking straight up fucking tells us this on the boat. And so it's no longer implicit. It's completely explicit that Danny is now Azor Ahai and the prince the prince that was promised until obviously, because many people think that John is the real main character of the story. People are always thinking about John. And by the time Dance comes, then we start getting the stronger implicit messages that, I mean, they're barely implicit. They're pretty explicit, actually. Mel sits there and says, I prayed to see Azor Ahai, and R'hllor just showed me snow with a capital S. Like, so we're all of a sudden supposed to think of John as Azor Ahai and the prince that was promised in Dance with Dragons. So, now, all of this said on how I would say, it's like I have to fucking preface this. It's like I fucking love the series. I fucking love George, But let's be fucking honest. The Azor Ahai prophecy rollout is fucking stupid and lame. And like out of fucking nowhere in A Storm of Swords, you're taking these 2 unrelated stories that had nothing to do with each other and you're making them the same thing. And you either have the Azor Ahai tale of Nissa Nissa where nothing seems to fit it, or you have Salt and Smoke where everything fucking seems to fit it. And it does, So, anyway. On a different note, though, let's talk about, like, prophecy. All right. Nearly all of George's previous works and previous stories, prophecies were there to trick people. Prophecies were there to be wrong. People always think they know the prophecy, and then there's a twist, and it turns out to be something different. And Marwyn even says this at the end of A Feast for Crows, like, yeah, you gotta watch it with these prophecies. It's always going to unfold in a way you didn't expect. So if you kind of think about it, like, we're 5 fucking books in, and you're told essentially in book 5 that no, John is Azor Ahai. So then you say, okay, well, what's the twist? Is the twist there's 3 Azor Ahais? Is there a twist that there's a whole bunch of Azor Ahais? Everybody's Azor Ahai? Is the twist that the prophecy is bullshit? The show dealt with it by being like, it turns out Arya's Azor Ahai? Is that it? Is that how the show did it? Or that prophecy wasn't important? One of the two. You can kind of the Arya was Azor Ahai the whole time. But there's always just like, one, we kind of know a twist is coming. It's not as simple as that it's Jon. And it's probably not as simple as that it's both Jon and Dany and a third character, whether it be Bran or Tyrion or Aegon or Stannis. You know, it's probably something more complicated than that. There's got to be some sort of little twist. He's only at book 5, you know. He's got to have another twist. So is it really Arya the whole time? Well, somehow you got to force that in there. But I'll tell you that George has never had a story that he's ever written his entire life where prophecy happens and then it's fulfilled in a traditional way, and yay, world saved ending. You know, the closest you can get is Armageddon Rag, where there's a prophecy of the end of the world, and then it turns out it's not the end of the world. It's actually a bunch of rock bands coming back as ghosts to live on in the music, and the end of the world didn't happen at all. You know, and that's the closest you get with the, like, there's a big prophecy coming. Is it going to be fulfilled? No, it's actually Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix and everybody else coming back on stage, and the mamas and the papas, and they're going to be music, and it's ice and he literally calls it ice and fire. It's ice and fire, and it's you know, that's the closest he has to fulfilling prophecy. Every other time, prophecy is bullshit, and it's like evil alien that's putting weird prophecies in our head to get us to kill ourselves. So it's definitely, what I can say about Azor Ahai is it's definitely not something as simple as it's Jon, Dany, and character X together. Like, no. Could it be it's secretly Arya? I guess that's some fucking out of left field George shit. Like, you could definitely have that. But I think when examining Azor Ahai, you should remember that this was never part of the original plan. It was unveiled book by book in a really messy, kind of dumb fashion. All right, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Like, if you're really examining like what you had in Clash and what you have in Storm, they do not mesh at all. He doesn't take any. Once you get into Feast and Dance, there's no big shifts. You know, there's small hints of like, maybe it's this character, maybe it's this character, but he doesn't change things around like he did, like going from Clash to Storm. But Storm, we all love it, but it's a messy book, as I say. But yeah, if you're looking for the answer, it's not going to be something traditional, and it's probably going to be something to piss you off. It pisses everybody off. But anyway, yes, the real Azor Ahai was the friends we made along the way. So I know everybody fucking, but like I say, man, how many posts and how many people debated this, like who Azor Ahai is. It's I don't know. I mean, could it be Hot Pie? I don't know. How good must the last 2 books of the series be for it to be GOAT? It's a very interesting question. I actually don't think if George actually pushed out some I think if he really pushed out like 40% slop, and he pushed those 2 books out and finished the series, I think people would consider it, you know, one of the greatest of all times, just because like its impact and how good the first 5 books are, and how important it is for people. You know, you got to remember that there are a lot of book series where the later books are horrible, and yet people still consider the entire series to be really incredible. You can take Dune, and let's be honest, like those last 2 Dune books are not good. And still people are like, man, the Dune series, that's an incredible series. Or you can say, okay, the Harry Potter series, I think people kind of think the last couple are not as strong as the middle. And people still think it's like the greatest of all time. Dark Tower has a clear descent. Like clearly the first 4 books of Dark Tower are on a different level of good than the last 3. Like it's just it's the last 3 books are nowhere fucking close to how good the first 4 books are, you know? So I don't necessarily think that like it has to be like these, if they come out, that these last books have to be great. They don't. Like, I think people would be happy enough if they were completed. I mean, Wheel of Time, like there are the greatest fans will admit that the bunch of middle books are just filler and horrible. And they'll all say like, oh, Brandon Sanderson's wrap up is really fast and not in the same writing style. But all of that said, they're like, it's still the greatest and their favorite of all time, you know? Like, so I don't think it takes that much. I think if he honestly pushed out 2 books of like mid to low level quality, like that would be enough. Like that's all he has to do to like be considered like the greatest of all time. Like I think it's that close for him and also that far for him. But yeah, I just like when I look at series, like series don't need to have strong endings to be considered great. I mean, the original Star Wars trilogy, Return of the Jedi, is leagues behind the first 2 books and the first 2 movies in quality, right? And it's still considered, yeah, no, it's a great trilogy. The Matrix, the last movie is horrible, and yet people still think, oh, the Matrix trilogy, yeah, it's a great one, you know? Trying to think of some others that are just like, oh, well, you know, Back to the Future. I mean, the later two like movies are nowhere fucking close. I mean, they're not bad movies. I don't think Back to the Future 2 or 3 are bad movies by any means, but they're not on the same level as the first movie. And yet people always talk about, oh yeah, you know, the trilogy. Even like when you talk about like, oh, the Aliens trilogy or Aliens quadrilogy or whatever at first, like people had that and they were like, yeah, you know, those last movies are horrible, but still, because the first 2 are so great, you know, they think of the whole series as being strong. When one entry is really, really strong, it pulls the others up. So I don't think that much. I don't think that it has to be very good. I don't. I think it just has to. I just think it just has to exist. I mean, people are still going to consider him one of the greatest, even with his unfinished series. You know, Stannis says that he is Azor Ahai. Now, I mean, that would be one of the biggest subversions of expectations of like that the man that you're told is Azor Ahai right from the beginning turns out to be Azor Ahai at the end. Like, yeah, I fucking told you. Like, we've been saying this the whole fucking story. Like, that would be kind of funny that the person, you know, how ironic that the person that's Azor Ahai is the one that everybody said was Azor Ahai right from the beginning. Of course it's not. But I mean, obviously, like, probably knowing George, the prophecy is either bullshit or it's been planted by time traveling Bran or the Children of the Forest to push characters into the right place. You know, it's not a prophecy. Prophecy just doesn't exist for the sake of existing in George's world. You know, there's somebody sending visions, right? We know all the visions are being sent. Like, prophecies just don't exist in a vacuum like they do in some stories where there's just a prophecy. Where does the prophecy come from? It doesn't matter. It just exists, you know? this is a story where people send dreams. Like, it's very clear that George has masterminds and puppet masters sending the dreams. So who is sending the Azor Ahai prophecy? Well, Bloodraven, Time Traveling Brand, Marwyn, Quaif. Somebody. That's the other thing. It's all prophecies, all bullshit. Azor Ahai, Mark. I guess that's saying Ahai to Mark. Azor Ahai is a still unnamed, unrevealed character. That's quite possible. Who knows? Huzzah, press from his heroes. Well, the answer is Stannis. It's already revealed in Clash of Kings. Stannis is Azor Ahai. Nothing more to it. If only. The first 3 books are bullshit. Super hot take. It's a super hot take, but I will say that George got a lot more careful with A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons. There's fewer inconsistencies. Not that there aren't mistakes and inconsistencies in the later two, in A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons, but it was very clear that he was trying now to have the world make sense and tie up loose ends and things like that. While in the first books, he was just kind of writing and just bowling through. Preston, did you know that other channels are clipping these and discussions or re-releasing them? Carmine has a channel like Game of Thrones clips or whatever. But I mean, if somebody else is doing it, I don't know. But who knows what the AI algorithms are doing these days? Yes, the Children of the Forest are shady as fuck. Of course. Yeah, we're supposed to think that. They're creepy as anything in Brand 3. Preston, are you saying that lore building based on ideas of the Fool Society and Erosophy might be as bad as basing U.S. foreign policy on the Book of Revelations? Man, it's pretty sad that we are actually at that point in American history, that we are basing foreign policy on the Book of Revelation. That's let's see. Oh my god, how could you say it's stupid and lame? The Azor Ahai prophecy is actually pretty fucking stupid and lame. I mean, come on. It's a story about like a prophesized hero that's gonna like save the fucking world, and it's like, oh my god, isn't that every fucking fantasy story? Like, do we need one of those? Do we need one of those prophecies? Like, I mean, so far has the Azor Ahai prophecy done anything for the story? I mean, is like it kind of motivates Mel into supporting Stannis. Like, it gives her motivation. But outside of Mel's motivation for following around Stannis doesn't really think he's Azor Ahai. Like, at least not at this point in the story. He might later on. Dany doesn't think she's Azor Ahai. See, I mean, you've got some like rioting people in Volantis that might think it, but like, but it hasn't really done anything for the story. It's not really needed. Like, you can delete Azor Ahai and the story kind of works. I mean, you know, you could be, well, what's keeping Mel around? Well, what's keeping Barrack? What's keeping Thoros from following around Barrack and Darien? Not much, you know. Like, why was he doing that? Well, I mean, you don't need much motivation for Mel to follow around Stannis, but that's essentially what the Azor Ahai prophecy is. It's just a motivation for keeping Mel in the story. It's a fable. Working hard is not enough. Sacrifice is required. Mel is on Dragonstone in a Game of Thrones. Mel is. I'm trying to think. They mention that he's. I think in a Game of Thrones he mentions that he's surrounded by red priests or something. I mean, the Red God is mentioned in a Game of Thrones. Red priest, warrior priest. I'm trying to think. Say the priest. I'm trying to think. Did they say priestess at one point? No. I don't know if they mention her, but I'm trying to think like what George even said about Stannis in the Game of Thrones. He's like fled to Dragonstone, and then what Stannis has been doing on Dragonstone. He's gathered swords. You know, I'm trying to even think if they mention that he's been surrounded by like foreign priestesses or anything like that. I don't even know if she's like Melisandre's been invented as a character. I mean, she's not in, say, the appendix. She's certainly not in the appendix of the Game of Thrones, right? It just says Stannis, Selyse, Shireen. The only mention. You'd think that, like, you know, remember, like, Hota is mentioned in the appendix of a Game of Thrones, but Melisandre is not. You know, Hota and Edric Dane is mentioned in the appendix of a Game of Thrones, but we don't hear about Azor Ahai or the President Was Promised. Like, you got to remember, like, certain ideas George has been brewing on for even longer. Fucking Hota, Maester Calliope, been there from the beginning. But yeah, I mean, yeah, in some general sense, like, characters have to sacrifice in order to, like, succeed, but that's the narrative purpose of all stories. So it's just like anyone that sacrifices, they're going to be like, oh, well, that was him giving up his Nisa, or that was his sword shattering in the water, and then his sword shattering in the lion, you know. What do you think Mel would do when she learns that the other priests are supporting Dany instead of Stannis? I'm actually trying to think, like, will Mel learn that? Right? Like, Mel is really far away from Volantis and any other priests. Like, the closest priest she you know, is Thoros in the Riverlands somewhere. He's not supporting Dany. Benerro is. We're not sure about other Red Temples. I mean, it could be that. I mean, it may be that other Red Temple. Like I say, maybe the Red Temple in Pentos is is supporting Hot Pie. I don't know. Although, it might be that the Red Temple in Bravos is supporting Nimble. Oh, Nimble Dick's dead, but maybe they think Nimble Dick's going to come back. We don't know. All we know is that yes, the one in Volantis is definitely supporting Danny. I don't know if Mel can. She might find out through flames or something, but let's think about like how long that would take. Like, okay, I suppose John Con and Aegon have the information. So John Con and Aegon are in the Griffin's Roost, Storm's End area. For that information to get up to Mel would take an entire book. And by then, who knows what's happening. But it's just, you kind of think like how little time left is in the story. Like, you got to remember that at absolute most, there's 2 years left in the story. And that's if George like slows down the pace again. It's more like a year is left in the story. And can characters actually like sail everywhere and get everywhere? Will there be religious zealots coming with Dany when she leaves Volantis? And because you kind of think, okay, maybe Dany will arrive at the ends of the Winds of Winter, so all of these zealots will land in a Dream of Spring, and they're battling Aegon for the first half of the book, and then the others are plowing south. What's Mel up to? Like, I don't know. It all depends if it's kind of, I guess you'd think it was understandable, but she doesn't necessarily like respect everybody else in her religion. Like, she thinks she's the best, she might just think they're morons, depending if like she suddenly is like, oh gosh, it's John, or it's Arya. But that's the thing, is that it's hard for her to learn about that information. Or when she does, it's so late in the game. Like, the others are already invading and things like that. Yeah. I have faith in George's writing skills. I don't have any faith in George finishing the books. This is a really good point, Goddess Salem. George is a really good writer, and he's a perfectionist writer, and what he releases is usually pretty good. He knows how to write. He can write in his sleep, but getting it done is the problem. I know you consider yourself a capitalist. What do you have against socialism? Mom Donnie has me hyped. I think what we're talking about is, when people use these words, I think we're talking about the same thing. I think any rational human being in the modern world, and there's not that many of them left, many of us left, but we all kind of accept that there is going to be some balance of a free market determining price versus, along with government fixing markets and providing providing social services. Like, all rational human beings like kind of accept at this point, like, that the world functions with these two things together. And so when I say like I'm a capitalist, you got to remember, like, I'm talking about, I believe in like Adam Smith, and Adam Smith believed in heavy participation of government in systems and things like that. Like, I think government's role is to help markets function. When I say capitalist, I don't mean laissez-faire. I don't mean cronyism. Like, the problem is today you say capitalist and people are like, oh, so you're for like corporations using the government to like enrich themselves with subsidies. And you're like, whoa, that's not capitalism. Like, what? Or like when you say capitalism, you go, oh, so you're just for laissez-faire. Well, laissez-faire also is not really capitalism. Adam Smith would be against laissez-faire, which is just the weirdest thing that he gets his name attached to it. So yeah, I mean, I don't look. I have nothing. I don't have much against. I think he'll do fine. I like him a lot. He's Mamdani. I don't necessarily think some of his policies will work. I don't think that. I think a lot of the problems in New York, with regards to high prices, and real estate and rent are just really, really difficult. I don't think that rent freezes and things like that are going to work. He can try them. I don't think they're going to work, but this is a really unsolvable issue. I'm all for free public transportation, but I would probably focus on having free subways before free buses. But go for it. I love those. Those are great policies. I think public transportation should probably be free. So it's. I think it's more that when I say I'm a capitalist, and I also say I think the United States should mimic Scandinavia. Many people are like, but Scandinavia, those are socialist countries, and you're like, well, it's all on a scale, when I say I'm a capitalist, it's I'm very much against cronyism, and I'm very much against monopolies and things like that. I'm for competition, fairness, free trade, but also social programs to help people out. And if a market proves that it's does not work, like say healthcare, the government should come in and fix it. So when people when somebody like Bernie says, "Oh, I'm a democratic socialist," it's all the fucking same thing. We're all that. We're all socialists and we're all capitalists at the same time. That's the weird thing, right? And when people say, "Oh, I hate socialism," the motherfuckers that tell me that they hate socialism are the first ones that are like, "We need to support the troops." And I'm like, the biggest fucking piece of socialism that exists in the world is the US military. It is, and yet these motherfuckers will be like, "I hate socialism," and yet they love the biggest fucking piece of socialism ever. And the people that say "Oh, I hate capitalism," but then when I don't know, yeah, they talk about something like sanctions, they're against them and things like that. When they talk about coming in and interfering with markets, they're against that too. So I get it. We all want things to be affordable. We want people to be able to live. We somehow want people to have it all. We want high salaries and low cost on our products and services, which is impossible. But we try to work it out. But when I say you can be a capitalist and a socialist at the same time, that's fine. We live in these mixed economies, and So look, Mamdani's great. I think he's a brilliant politician, and he's a really incredible speaker, and he's got some cojones. So, I'm all fine with him. It's great. I don't think his policies are necessarily going to work, but I think those are really difficult things he's trying to tackle. Ask Trey about Mitra and Sol Invictus equals Jesus Misunder. Is this about his latest? Yeah, okay. So recently Trey the Explainer had a video on beardless Jesus. It's a very good video. And he essentially talks about how the first few centuries after Jesus, everyone kind of thought that Jesus was beardless, which is probably inaccurate. Jesus, Jews at the time did have usually a chin strap kind of beard. But he was portrayed as beardless in most of the pictures in the first few centuries. And then two things kind of happened is they started like making him either look like Alexander or Apollo, or as they say, like Sol Invictus, with like long hair, long curls, like coming down. Or they started putting a big bushy beard on him because big bushy beards mean wisdom. We get into this with Pycelle, right? Pycelle has the big beard and everyone thinks he's so smart, and then it gets shaved off and he feels powerless. And so they gave Jesus the long hair pretty much from Alexander, Apollo, or they gave him the beard from being wise. And so the Jesus image that we have is probably pretty inaccurate. But it's pretty well documented that these things caused, like, Jesus. Like, you had a picture that looked exactly like Apollo before, and now it's saying Jesus underneath it, and it's the same fucking picture. So it's an interesting video. But yeah, The Matrix had one good movie. I think the Matrix Reloaded is passable, and I think the fourth Matrix movie is all right. I think the fourth Matrix movie is okay, but the third Matrix movie is pretty trash. Have you seen Ted Nasmith's Art of the Song of Ice and Fire Castles? Art of the Song of Ice and Fire Castles. All right, let's do it. Oh. Huh. Okay. I'm going to bring this up. All right, here's some of his art. I've actually not really seen many of these things. Huh. Featured in Game of Thrones limited edition? Some of these. Yeah, here's some of the more traditional, I don't want to say classical look to his art. While like a lot of the art they do is just that you see for Ice and Fire is kind of over the top and exaggerated. Huh. There's Bran, the gargoyles. But here's his Iron Throne. Oh, his is more like the House of the Dragon. Look at that. Oh, he did this one. Well, everybody's seen this one. The Old Valyria. Everyone's seen it. Yeah, okay. This one's pretty famous. And then I'm trying to think. Oh, he did Old Town. Okay, everybody's seen this one then. Yeah. Okay. Obviously. I think I've seen this Winterfell, of course. But yeah, more classical than a lot of the others that are fantastic. Pretty, his Dragonstone, much more conservative than some of the pictures. East Watch by the Sea, nice. And he has a lot of good ones. Don't see many of these. Oh yeah, and this one of the Eyrie. And then the Hedge Knight cover. Yeah, yeah. Do you have any favorite castle depictions? I'm trying to think of. I mean, I think this picture of Valyria is really, really good because we just have we have no one who's even attempted it. Um, I tend to really like um, what's his Miguel Sapach stuff the most. I'm gonna screw up everybody's name. I want to make sure I get it right because it's Mark Simonetti. I like I don't know why I said Miguel. Brain fart. Okay, I like Mark Simonetti's art on Ice and Fire the most, probably. Just because I think, I don't know, he has a dark feel to a lot of his stuff, and I don't know, like there's something about how he does everything. Like here's his Kingsmoot, you know, and his Iron Throne is the one that kind of everybody knows because it's just, you know, this is his Iron Throne. He has like the famous picture of Bloodraven as well and stuff like that. But I'm trying to think of the favorite castle depictions. Mark Simonetti, I think he has a Dragonstone that I think is pretty good. Right? Yeah. I think this is I want to make sure I'm getting the right one. Yeah, his Dragonstone is pretty dark. I guess you're not seeing the full thing. I'm trying to think of if I have a favorite. Because I do think the Dragonstone pictures are the most interesting, and I think the I don't know what it is. I mean, I think the most interesting castles, in my opinion, are Storm's End and Dragonstone, and it's mainly because they have such. You hear about the unique features of those castles in the descriptions, and so when I see artwork of it, I'm looking for like what I remember in the story, like what was written and how that artist has decided to put it up there, and how he's kind of portrayed it. So I don't know if Mark Simonetti has a Storm's End, but for some, those two castles are the ones I'm kind of most interested in, and oh, I love this Mark Simonetti's wall. I love this wall. Such a beautiful one. But I'm trying to think. Yeah, but those are the two. I can limit it to those two, like castles, Storm's End and Dragonstone. I think are the most interesting. But you know, even something as simple as this, where I'm just like, huh, like yeah, it's kind of how, you know, that's how they're describing it. Okay, that fits. You know, like, but those are kind of my favorite. Yes, Azor Ahai is the friends we made along the way. Yeah, Azor Ahai is a big atheist. I don't think his magnum opus series will feature religious prophecy saving the day. Yeah, unless it's like, I mean, what's funny is that like, unless it's a big middle finger, like the Arya thing from the show, as like disappointing as that is to a lot of people, and it's kind of such a troll. it is kind of George, just because it's a fucking middle finger, like ha ha ha, it was Arya, tricked you all. But you're right. But you're right that like it doesn't really make much sense that there be some god who plus a malevolent god, because we're talking about R'hllor here, who rewards people for burning them alive. That his prophecy in Azor Ahai and Hero is saving the world. You're like, what fucking world do we live in that a malevolent god like runs the whole thing? I hope the last line reflects that we should start back. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. So apparently, I had my idea on how I would end the book, and I kind of thought that I've talked about this before, that my last chapter for the contemporary story would be Sansa getting into a boat at the God's Eye, and it would be Howland Reed rowing the boat. But you wouldn't realize. She would just look at his surcoat and she would see like some faded, crocodile on it, and that she would make it to the Werewoods, and then there would be a final. Maybe she would join with the trees at the end or something, But that would be my last. I think it would just be like a Sansa chapter would be the last contemporary, and then if there were going to be more, I would have an epilogue of a character named like Paris Frey 1,000 years in the future at one of the citadels in, the Eyrie or something. And her just talking about how, how much better the world is, And however, there is a the writers that wrote The Expanse, Ty Franck, he was personal assistant to George R. R. Martin for a while, and he says that he knows the last line of Ice and Fire. Like George has the last line written in his head, and he told him, and so there's a question of like, who is it? And I think Altshift X interviewed him and asked him like, or he asked his partner, I forget which one he was interviewing, like, was it a Bran line? And the guy said, I cannot confirm nor deny, because if Bran is on the throne, would Bran be the last chapter or whatever? But for what that's worth, he says I can't confirm or deny. But so I don't know. I don't know if the last line will be a Bran line or if the last line will be somebody else. I wouldn't choose Bran as myself, but I'm not George R. R. Martin, and I didn't have a plan from the beginning. I mean, the first chapter is a Bran chapter. Would the last chapter be a Bran chapter? Maybe. So I don't know. Will Arya end up evil or learn to forgive? So people have asked me about the Hound a bit. Like, what are you going to do with the Hound? What do you think is going to happen to the Hound? What do you think? What would you do with the Hound in the fanfic? And I'm like, look, the story's got a million plot threads. The Hound is left at a pretty good resolution. Either he's dead or he's the Gravedigger and at peace. In order for the Hound to get pulled out of retirement, he's got to have a really good, important purpose. And the purpose they use in the show is trying to finally get Arya off her path of vengeance. And I could see that being used. Like, you could pull the Hound back in for that function, that he would be the one to pull her off. But there's also a million fucking characters that can pull her off that road. It could be Gendry. It could be Lady Stoneheart. It could be, it could be fucking Harwin. It could be Hot Pie. like any character could be like, dude, like it could be the elder brother. Like you saw this world of vengeance and what it did to people and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I feel like that there could be someone to pull them off. In my I think I did I do a season 8 fixed? My plan was that if I were gonna resolve the Arya story, that she would fucking see Ilan Payne, and like the last person on her list, she would see him and then actively decide that she was not going to kill him. Like, and that would be like the powerful thing. Like you have learned to forgive and you have left your death list incomplete. Because I mean, should Ilan Payne really be on the list? No. I mean, she's killed a lot of people that shouldn't be on the list, but like, should Ilan Payne be on the list? Probably not. You know, like he was following orders. You know, he didn't. You know, what is he supposed to do? And so like having him be, but at the same time, Ilan Payne, like it sounds like he's probably going to get torn apart by Nymeria. So who knows? He's in the same place as Nymeria right now in the story. So you're like, fuck, you know. So I think it's a bit, you know, it's a possibility. I think it's a strong possibility that Arya would learn to forgive and you know, have that ending for her rather than her just going evil and dying. I think Azor Ahai is another Hodor. Azor. Oh, somebody's like Bran is just like on a horse and he's been on a horse for days and he's like, my ass is sore, and it like sends back a message like thousands of years in the past to some dude writing the Jade Compendium, and he's like, Azor Ahai. Oh man. Hardly anyone in Trump's orbit has read the Book of Revelation or likely any long book. But that's the weird thing about religion, is that people don't really read their books, and they just kind of believe what everyone around them is kind of saying. You know, like it's just like their group thinks that, oh, homosexuality is wrong, and it's like it logically doesn't track. You know, like, yes, you can find a passage in the Old Testament, but you can also find a passage about like you shouldn't wear mixed fabrics. You know, and there's no logic to like why you're focusing on one and not the other, but the groupthink passes it on. So there's definitely like a religious groupthink in American politics related to Israel. I mean, you can turn on growing up, you know, you go through the channels, I would see the 700 Club, and they would be actively saying in the 700 Club for years that the Holy Land is from the Mediterranean Sea to the River Jordan, and it's all theirs. And that if you had to make an analogy, imagine if we took Al Qaeda and we gave them Texas, you know, and you're like, no, like that's not accurate at all. But it's also not accurate to say that the Holy Land goes from the Mediterranean to the River Jordan. Like, there's nothing in the Bible that says that. The Bible literally says that the Holy Land is the Nile to the Euphrates. It does not say the Mediterranean to the River Jordan. There's the definition of the Holy Land is actually like a lot. So, yeah. So there's a groupthink in the American Christian community, specifically in evangelical community, that Israel needs to exist for Judgment Day to occur, and that this is an important part of like Armageddon coming. And they keep in mind that Christians want Armageddon to come. This is a joyous thing because this is Jesus will return. When this, I know this for non-religious people who are unfamiliar with Christianity, like the end of the world is a joyous thing for the righteous Christian. The song, "Oh, when the saints come marching in. Oh, when the saints come marching in." That's a happy song. That's about the fucking end of the world. That's how fucked up this all is. But yeah. Anyway, oh, how will George R. R. Martin know when Winds is complete without writing 50% of Dream? There's no turning this boat around without tipping it over anymore. I do agree with you. This is so unlike when finishing Storm, where all of the stories came to a conclusion, Dance and Feast had a problem in which there was no logical stopping point, right? The stories everything pretty much ended on cliffhanger. And the reason the reason Dance with Dragons ends is because he filled the pages. But he wanted to have many more chapters in there. The story was not complete. So it's if he finds a logical stopping point, I suppose he could do that. But I don't know if he can do it again. Find a logical stopping point. It's hard. I mean, I can think of a logical stopping point, like the falling of the wall falling and Dany arriving in Westeros is a logical stopping point, and Arya making it back to Westeros is a logical stopping point. Getting everybody back to Westeros is a logical stopping point. If he can do that, then he knows that Winds is complete. But if he doesn't do that, I don't know. I mean, plus there's a lot of stories Cersei and Aerion and Jon Con and Sam where you're well, how do you know when to stop? How do you know when to stop them? I don't know. Is there a logical resting point at that point? Yeah, it's plus it's just way too much story. It's way too much story to fit. But I think it's why when we're at this point where George says he's 75% done, or he has 1,100 pages, and yet he doesn't seem happy, and he doesn't talk about being nearly complete. And everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, you're almost there." Well, no, he's not, because he kind of knows that there's no stopping point in sight. He's written a lot of pages, but where's the point that you stop? Where's the point? I mean, you can kind of look at Dance. His stopping point with Tyrion was Tyrion joining the Second Sons. That's not a logical stopping point, The only one that has kind of a logical stopping point is maybe, I guess, Dany, Jon. Jon has a good point. Dany has a good point. And then I'm trying to think if anybody else is in a good bookend position. Think about that. Is Tyrion in a good bookend position? No. Is Victarion in a good bookend position? No. He's probably in the worst. He's ready for action. Arya? No. There's nothing that happened in The Ugly Little Girl that said bookend right there. Is Cersei? No. Is Jaime? No. No one else. Can he find one of those points again for all of the characters at once? I don't know. I don't think so. How do you think the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms will handle the clunky show lore, like the Dagger, the Targaryen Prophecy, and Bloodraven Visions? So Carmine and I discussed this a bit. Carmen will probably like want to call in on this one because we have joked about this a million times. But you know, I don't know how Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is gonna work. Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, the Hedge Knight's a fucking fantastic story. It's a fantastic story. It's one of George R. R. Martin's best written things. It's brilliant. It does not break up into a logical episodic format. It should have been, it should be a movie. It should be a 2-hour movie. It shouldn't be 6 episodes. That's not how the story should break apart. And then there's just not enough to fill 6 episodes. I don't know what they're going to do. And so everybody's like, well, I guess they're going to fill it with like extra stuff, like Blackfire Rebellion stuff and prophecies and daggers. And we joke about like the dagger showing up because the dagger showed up in House of the Dragon. Does that mean the daggers, House of the Dragon happened in point A and the modern story is point C? So there should be something in point B. Like, will they throw the dagger in? And we're just like, oh my God, is it gonna be like on Aryan Bright Flame's like hip? Is he gonna use it to like threaten Dunk? Are they gonna be fighting with it? So we joke that it's fucking daggers all the way down. 1 million daggers, man. It's just gonna be so many fucking daggers. Fucking cat's paw daggers gonna be everywhere. But yeah, I feel like they're going to need to they're going to fill time. And I fear that they're going to fill time with a bunch of prophecies and stuff like in Blood Raven Visions and histories of the Blackfire Rebellion. Because what else can they do? What else can they do to fill 6 episodes where there's no good like cliffhanger point? There's no good ending point for many of the episodes. There's like one good halfway ending point. Like I would say like Dunk revealing that he's a Targaryen. Egg revealing that he's a Targaryen. That's a great place to end an episode. Okay, you got one. Like where else? Like what else in the story? Like Dunk returning to his campfire and finding that the stable boy has followed him. Is that how you're going to end an episode? Like what a cliffhanger, Like I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know, but I feel like they are going to throw in these clunky things and hopefully as they shove in not very much rather than a lot. I don't know. Azor Ahai is second coming Revelations, always coming. Yeah, I kind of feel like that too. The way the show did it was that it never happened. There was no big prophecy thing unless you count the Arya stuff. And even that was shoved, like random and shoved in. I guess Mel thought that it was she was Azor Ahai and felt that it was time to walk off into the snow or something, but it didn't really do anything. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be, it's sort of like, say we take like the stallion that mounts the world, like that prophecy was coming and then it just didn't happen. The prophecy that's happening in Armageddon Rag, George's book, just doesn't happen. Like, I think prophecy can be averted, and I think Azor Ahai is probably something that's just going to be averted and never happens, just like Revelation, always in the future. Oh, 2 years off your life, but A Song of Ice and Fire finishes, yes or no? No, I'm sorry. No. There's too many other things that are more important. Like, when I think about how many years left on the planet, now I think about like how old my children are going to be and where they're going to be in life and making sure they're in a good place and providing everything that's like there for them. And, there are these little things like, can I do something really fun with my son, like climb Kilimanjaro or something, like you think about these little things like that. Like, is there time? I would never take, 2 years is way too much, but it's different. If you were some like childless person who was just like, well, my 90s are going to be me crapping into a diaper in a old folks home, like maybe you'd think about it, but it's a little different when you have kids. I don't know. Will the Westerling's deaths be addressed in Danny 2 with the Guild of Spicer's Sorrowful Men? I'm not sure when else it can without a glass candle. So the Danny 2 is going to be complicated, which is why I've been putting it off. Mainly because the Guild of Spicer stuff, this, we're talking about the fanfic here for anybody that's like, what? I don't remember this. For any of you that have like remembered the fanfic, introduced the concept that the Guild of Spicers were connected to the House Spicer and thus connected to the Westerlings, and a sorrowful man, at least one sorrowful man, arrives at the crag and causes some trouble. And it's kind of a mystery on who hired the sorrowful man. I think that the Guild of Spicers will be part of the story, will be addressed there. But it's not that important because I think that the person that hired the sorrowful man is in Westeros. And, there's going to be more issues there with more. I think there's going to be probably more sorrowful men, probably 3 of them. But yes, I think the Guild of Spicers will get some shout out and some references to their connections. But, got to deal. The big thing with Karth, got to deal with Quaithe, got to deal with Zaro. And yes, Guild of Spicers, it's going to be mentioned, and like some other things, maybe talk about Euron and Euron's trip there, what's up with the Warlocks, stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be addressed in that chapter, and it's like so much at once that I'm like, oh God, how am I going to handle that? But yeah, it'll be discussed. But the idea is to try to like wrap that shit up and contract the story, bring it in. But yeah, I think they will come up. They will come up in Danny 2. It's just, but also a lot of that plot can be resolved when we discover who hired the sorrowful man. Yeah, Game of Thrones mentions that Selyse has taken the Red God. Okay. That's the... Yeah, there is a... What is it? Selyse? Is Selyse in here? A Sword of Fire. Has she? Trying to think. Yeah, I was trying to find the exact quote of when, because I know they talk about, obviously, like they talk more about Selyse after we've already been introduced to Selyse, but the actual maybe a singular god, maybe that'll bring it up. Horned god inside the god's house. Lamb god. Yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, I wish I had their exact quote from Game of Thrones. I mean, I believe you that I vaguely remember something about like Selyse surrounding herself. But I can't remember exactly. What it was. Do they call her Stannis' wife ever? Stannis' wife? No. Stannis' lady? Stannis' lady wife? I don't know. Last Hero versus Azor Ahai. Which one do you like more? I mean, it has to be Last Hero just because I think Azor Ahai is clumsy and dumb. I mean, it's just George invented something in A Clash of Kings and then clearly just didn't fucking like it and then completely changes it for A Storm of Swords. Like, there is nothing similar there's no similarity between the Azor Ahai like legend in A Clash of Kings and A Storm of Swords. He wrote something, he didn't like it, and so he rewrote it. And he's just like, yep, that's it. So, I mean, at least with Last Hero, it's there, and unapologetic, and no one's been forcing shit in it. It just exists. People have heard the story, people think about it, fans think about it, but it's not in your face constantly like the Azor Ahai story where everybody's like, Prince was promised Azor Ahai. But yeah, I hate the Azor Ahai. It's just because it was clearly one thing, and then it's very clumsily just made into something else in the next book. I talk about this with like the Dark Tower, like all of a sudden combines all of the villains into one person, and you're like, no, they were different. Flag and Walter and all these people, they were and Merlin. There's a Merlin and a Walter and a Flag, and they're three distinct separate characters, and then they're all the same fucking guy, and they just get fucking bit by a spider and die. And you're like, oh my god, Stephen King, you didn't know what you were doing, did you? Like, and I read Wizard and Glass like 3 times trying to figure out the backstory and getting it really like, and then to just have him just like shit on the world building that he did. Just well, whatever. Azor Ahai, yeah, no, I don't like Azor Ahai. It's see, now it's all coming out. People are like, Preston, why am I watching this video on somebody that doesn't even like the Azor Ahai system? What are your thoughts on what happened to Tyrek? That's an interesting one. So Tyrek is clearly kidnapped by someone. Okay. And the fact that like Jaime actively thinks from nowhere, it's kind of shoved in there, that Varys kidnapped Tyrek. Means that either, yes, Varys kidnapped Tyrek, or someone else kidnapped him, like Littlefinger or something. And so I think one of those characters did, in fact, kidnap Tyrek. Now, Tyrek disappears during the riot. I think it makes more sense that Littlefinger planned that riot versus other people. When you think about like the High Septon. I'm trying to think. Oh, fuck. I'm piecing together now everything. Because like at the time, wasn't Varys trying to keep things stable? He was trying to slow things down. And so like, let me get the exact quote from Jaime, because he mentions... Tyrek snatched up during the confusion. Varys knew all, or so he'd have us believe. He gave Cersei no warning of that riot, nor did he ride down to the ships to see Myrcella off. So it's like, yeah, maybe it could be Varys, but at the same time, like, our protagonists are often wrong, and so like it's anybody but Varys. Like maybe it was Littlefinger. I think in the Littlefinger debt scheme, I probably talk about this. It's ringing a bell. It's been a long time. Where I think I probably argue that Tyrek was kidnapped by Littlefinger, and I think it has to do with oh shit, it's been so long on like why I think Littlefinger fucking caused the riot. I can't believe. Oh man. Oh man, now I have to watch my own fucking videos. It's been a long time. I know I theorized that Littlefinger caused the fucking riot. Who remembers? Who remembers? Does anyone remember my logic on this? Fuck, it's been a long time. I mean, keep in mind this was like a video I made like 8 or 9 years ago. Man, that's funny if Tyrek just dipped out, didn't care. That's funny. God, what was my logic on that? Fuck. This is actually like bothering me. Because Littlefinger does dip out, and then because right he leaves to go try to broker the Tyrell situation, and then oh right, I think there was something like the debts. He's killing the High Septon, so the debts. Maybe I made some sort of theory that makes people more dependent on his lending. Lolly Stokeworth, because he's always attending those Stokeworth dinners, something like that, where he wants to make sure that no one marries Lolly Stokeworth. So he wants Lolly Stokeworth to be sullied in some way. Mm-hmm. This is Siri turned on for a second. Why? What could I possibly? Why is when I'm talking about Lolly Stokeworth is Siri? You're not Lolly Stokeworth. I think it's something like that is coming back to me. Because you remember Littlefinger was going to the Stokeworth dinners for some reason. You a fan of the outlaw Jesse James? I don't think so. I'm not sure if there's I have any reason on why I would like some sort of train robber. Yo yo yo.
You know, I'm always insulted when you never put up my picture up. Like you always put Trey's cam up, but you never put mine up. So I'm a little insulted.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Here, I will.
No. Put as is, as it is.
No, this is what I'm. Yeah, I'm doing. Oh God, I am. Okay, right. I'll put yours up. Put yours up. Hold on.
I swear to God, if you somehow hacked into the government database and got my actual ID picture, I'm gonna be super pissed. Impressed.
Oh my God.
But super pissed.
And then I put your real name under it. And I'm like, here you go, guys.
You're out of your mind. Thank you.
Hold on.
No, that's okay. What are we? Whatever fake ass name you're gonna put on there. What are we? What are you asking?
New text box overlay, right? So I can.
I'm okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Calling in.
All right. Careful. Put like Sanchez or something. I don't know.
Jeez, come on.
Oh, thank you. What are we talking about here?
Is this okay? Is this all right?
Sure. What's the theory here that you were?
Oh, we were talking about where Tyrek was, and like Jamie thinks he was kidnapped by Varys, which makes me think he was kidnapped by Littlefinger. And I was trying to remember my logic for it, and I think it had like all of the little pieces of the riot had to do with Littlefinger's life, because Littlefinger was attending the Lolly Stokeworth dinners,
I'm
and
gonna
then
be honest with you.
Lolly's
I don't.
gets
I doubt that's it. I don't remember your theory on this because it's been years. But
yeah.
if Littlefinger's behind the riots, then to me, the only logical conclusion would be to try to get someone out of there. I don't think Tyrek, possibly Sansa.
That he was trying to kidnap Sansa, but he fails. Like they were going after Sansa.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he could have been trying, and then he failed in doing it. They were trying to get her. But then again, oh shit! Doesn't somebody with like onion breath like get in her face? And it's like Varys. It could be. Couldn't that be? Or does that guy get killed though? Forget if like Varys himself tries to get her.
But isn't that Littlefinger's objective, after all, is to get Sansa out of King's Landing?
Yeah, get Sansa, but also like I'm saying that like somebody might be trying to marry Lollies, and he wants to like get Lollies like off the table. But then again, in the end, Bronn marries her or gets with her, so that's a Varys thing as well. If Bronn is a Varys plant, I mean, maybe it could be. Maybe Jamie was right. Maybe it's just Varys. Maybe just I don't know what Varys is doing with him.
But remember, the rule of Ice and Fire is whenever anybody thinks it might be this guy, it's never that guy. It's something else.
Right, but then again, I mean, when Tyrion and Jamie both think it's Joffrey sent the cat's paw. Like, did Joffrey send the cat's paw?
Yes, because George confirms it.
Yeah.
Whenever a character assumes it's this other guy, it's never that guy unless George goes.
George confirmed. Yeah.
So I have to go with Littlefinger organized the riot to try to kidnap Sansa for his own.
Yeah, and he ended up just getting Tyrek too. I mean, Tyrek's a valuable hostage no matter what, right? So, you might as well kidnap him. I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie. I really do think Tyrek is dead because there's no how you gonna bring him back? Were you gonna bring him back in the fanfic? By the way, you have any ideas?
I don't know. I haven't thought about him.
There are more interesting Lannisters to even touch on. I would argue. Why is his name escaping me? Tywin's brother who goes off in search of Bright Roar but never comes back. I don't know.
Gary.
Gyrion Lannister.
Gary.
There's more interesting characters to bring back that are Lannisters. Tyrek, why? What point? What's the point?
I mean, somebody's got to take care of Wet Nurse, his baby bride. They call him Wet Nurse, right? Because they married him to a baby, and he's like, "Oh God, this sucks."
I have to. I've never asked Lytus this privately, but I probably should. I wonder how he feels about the Tyrek joke because it's usually attached to him, and I don't know if he's like annoyed by it because it's every single time people are always bringing it up. So I don't know if he's just like, "Oh, let it go." I should ask him.
But yeah, I don't know much about Jesse James. I know more about Jassy James than Jesse James, but I love these things like funding the military is not socialism. What the fuck? Like, oh my God, like, what do you think socialism is? Like, right? Isn't the socialism when the government creates a job for somebody and provides them housing and provides them clothing and provides them medical care and what else would the fucking military be but socialism? Like what like these things where you're just like somebody's just like What the fuck? Like you've never had your mind expanded at all. You've never thought about like the concept of like what socialism is. Like never. No time. Like have you ever sat down and been like, huh, what is socialism? Like what is it? Like what is socialism? Like never, like they've never like sat down and thought like on like what the definition of it is. Because they're just like, socialism is when Stalin opens gulags or something. Like, that's what socialism is. And you're like, isn't it when the government, like, provides something, right? Because, like, again, these are the same people that are like, oh, Obamacare is socialism, which, sure, why not? But, like, the military isn't. Like, you're literally creating a job for often unemployable people to do mostly useless stuff, keep in mind, like marching around bases in Kansas, right? Where you provide them free housing, free food, free clothing, free medical. Like, it's the fucking closest thing to socialism on the fucking planet. And yet, the person's just like, that's not socialism. What the fuck? Like, you've never thought about this, have you? Like, you've never, like, stepped back and been like, huh, what is socialism? Like your just knee-jerk reaction is just like, it's not it, you know? I mean, this is the same person who's just like immediately is just like, oh, this person's a commie is their next comment. Man, oh man. Oh, I see you already responded to her. This is like a half an hour ago though, right?
She said something about Mondani, and I'm like, "Are you a New Yorker? Like, do you,
Yeah.
or are you one of those like Republicans?"
No, I think she's a
like
bot.
1,000
I
miles?
think he. I mean, it's probably a guy pretending to be a girl. I mean,
Sure.
but, like of course, but like
it's just something I've noticed about people from like Alabama or Mississippi or one of these depressed places,
right,
who have
but
an
like,
opinion on Los Angeles, even though they've never been there. Okay.
Right. Like what are the chances? Well, first of all, like New York is a super, super liberal place. And so if you're from like chances are if you're from New York, you're going to be super liberal. So would you be using a word like commie, like accusing somebody of being a commie if you were actually a New Yorker? Like that doesn't sound like a very New Yorker thing. Right? Like there'd be a lot of things you could call them, but commie doesn't seem like something a New Yorker would accuse him of. I don't know. Fishy. And the person's never thought about what's the definition of socialism. So, okay. I mean, oh man. Favorite Ranma one half character and plotline. Are you? I mean, I like Carmine knows more about Ranma one half than I do. Like
I actually do not. I literally do not. I've never seen an episode. I know the plot because you said it multiple times. Here's the thing: is like I've only seen like random. I saw like one of the movies, and this keep in mind this was when I was in college. I saw one of the movies, and I saw a couple random episodes, and it was so off the wall berserk that I was just like, this is the funniest thing ever. And some people are like, it's not so crazy if you actually watch from the beginning. You're just like diving in. And of course, like a bunch of old men running around stealing panties and everyone transforming into ducks and cross genders like changing in the middle of it. You're just like, what the fuck is this? So I don't like, if you're going to ask me like, Ranma one half characters, like, what are they? What's his wife's name? Like Akane, or his fiance's name? Akane? Is that it? See, you're basically. I haven't seen Ranma one half in 25 years. I use it. Ranma one half. I use it mainly to tease Carmine because Carmine's really. He's a huge anime manga fan, and so I bring up like Ranma one half because Ranma one half is ridiculous. For people that don't know what I'm talking about, Ranma one half is about a boy. When he gets wet, he becomes a girl. And there's a whole bunch of like unrequited love relationships in it. Like people are in love with him when he's a girl. He's in love with somebody else. He's engaged to somebody. All this stuff. It's complicated and weird. But
man, what's see, I'm even if I got his I wish I you know, Tendo, I wish I don't have the names. I'm sorry that I get these questions like, what's your favorite Ranma 1/2 character? And I'm like, I just have seen enough to know it's fucking crazy. Not that I've seen the whole fucking thing. I was right. It's Akane. I can't believe after 25 years I remember that it's fucking his fucking fiance's name is Akane. You've never seen a second of it, but you knew what it was, Carmine.
I'm familiar with Rumiko Takahashi and her works. She's the creator of Ranma 1/2, but also Inuyasha. Every millennial who watched Adult Swim as a kid should remember Inuyasha. So,
Wow. See, look at that. I had no idea what you're talking about. um, did Lysa choose Vardis because he wasn't a suitor? I mean, in all honesty, I don't think the events of a Game of Thrones with regards with Lysa make any sense. Because if Lysa wanted Tyrion to die, she should have chosen somebody better than Vardis Egan. But then if she wanted Tyrion to live, she shouldn't have sent him unescorted off on the road. And some people could argue, oh, well, it's a little different if he gets killed by Mountain Clan versus him being executed. And I was like, I don't know. That's pretty. If he ends up dying, come from the Eyrie, it looks bad no matter what. So I wish it made sense, but the best I can do in trying to make it fit with the story is that Lysa secretly did not want Tyrion to die. That she was scared of the Lannisters and she was scared of their wrath. And so when Kat shows up and she's angry at her, she's like, what are you doing? I fled here for a reason. I don't want trouble with the Lannisters. That she was being honest, and that in the end, she had the trial and allowed the trial because she secretly wanted Tyrion to live because she didn't want trouble. And and that she somehow thought that maybe if he died outside of her hands that she wouldn't be blamed for it. You have to just kind of assume that at some point there's a little bit of crazy in Lysa that has to make it fit. She has to make one of her decisions has to be crazy, whether the allowing the trial by combat or her choosing Egan or her sending Tyrion on the high road and back. Like one of those things is a little crazy, and so you've got to just kind of chalk it up to her being nuts. But I don't know if it was because of the suitor issue. She did. I mean, Blackfish says that she liked all the suitors flirting with her, but then behind closed doors, she's like, the suitors annoy me. They're gross and they don't love me, and they just want to take over the veil. And she's right. So it's, but maybe, the suitors have control of houses for the most part, except that's not the case with Lynn Corbray. Lynn Corbray is not the Lord. So she could have picked Lynn Corbray and had Tyrion sliced up pretty. I mean, had Bronn sliced up and been fine, Or if Lynn died, doesn't change very much at all because his brother is the Lord. So I don't know. I don't think the decision really makes very much sense. The only thing you can do is kind of chalk it up to Lysa's craziness, So sorry. when Littlefinger explains why Harry is the heir, he says that one of the Arryn daughters got carried off by a burned man, Timot's mother, true Lord of the Vale. I think, I think it's one of those situations where George, is trying not to paint himself into a corner. Like if he wants to do something like that, he can have this character and their spawn like show up later. I don't know if he was really firm thinking about one of these people showing up. The thing is if one of the daughters gets carried off, right, and say it's Timot's mother, it just makes Timot a bastard. So it doesn't really change anything, And so like, unless there's a situation where all bastards in the whole realm are legitimized, like it doesn't change anything. Like I get it. Like you'd be like, oh, Timot, maybe Timot or maybe one of the other clan leaders is secretly an Arryn. Okay, but they're still an Arryn bastard. Like, so it doesn't really change anything. It doesn't really change anything in terms of succession. You have to have somebody legitimize them for it to matter. And the only person to do that would be like, a king. Whether the king be Sweet Robin or Harry the heir, if they get independence or whatever, or who else? Stannis, Aegon, Cersei, Tommen. Like, why are they legitimizing this guy? So unless you get some sort of blanket legitimization of all bastards, which would fucking, have the whole kingdom be crazy, it would be kind of a random thing. Like, it might be there, but it's not of any consequence. It's just, okay. It's sort of like even saying that R plus L equals J, like who is accepting Jon as legitimized? Who is accepting Jon as, some people say, oh, you've got Robb's will. Well, okay, but why would a Southerner care about Robb, king in the North, as a legitimate king who can legitimize people and remove the stain of bastardy? Like, it starts getting complicated. And people are like, oh, well, they got married in front of that tree. And you're like, why would a bunch of Southern worshippers of the Faith of the Seven accept a polygamous marriage in front of a tree? Like, it's weird stuff like that. They accept it if might makes right, and if it benefits them. But I don't know. In any other way, it would be like relevant. If Timot takes over the Vale, what does it matter if he's an Arryn or not? They either accept him because he's forcefully taken it, or they don't. Dunk finds Greywater Watch on the way to Winterfell. Oh, for another adventure? So there's some discussion that the village hero will be a story at some point in the Riverlands. George said that he has this idea for a story called The Village Hero that takes place in the Riverlands. And we aren't sure if The Village Hero really takes place in between the Sworn Sword or after the Mystery Night. But if it takes place, like, it doesn't kind of matter where it takes place. But The Village Hero would be in the Riverlands. But then if you want another story after that, would you have it be at Greywater Watch? It would be interesting. That'd be an interesting story. But do I think George will get to the point where he finishes not one, but two Dunk and Egg stories? If he's going to finish 2 Dunk and Egg stories, it's going to be Village Hero and it'll be She-Wolves of Winterfell. Okay. And then he would have 5 and that's it. That's all he's capable of doing. There's no way he's doing any more. There's no way he's getting a Greywater Watch story in there as well. That would be great. I would love it, but I just don't believe that. I don't believe he's going to write The Village Hero or She-Wolves of Winterfell. But for him to get those out of the way, for him to write a Greywater Watch story, oh, that'd be crazy. I've decided Weasel is Azor Ahai. Weasel, of course, being one of Arya's friends that gets away. We don't know what happened to her, and so we made Weasel. We put Weasel in the fanfic, where she's eating mud, right? Am I getting? Unless I'm confusing my characters, right? She's the one that's eating mud, right? Yeah. No older than 2. Right? Doesn't she eat? Unless am I confusing her with? Yeah, no. She has the habit of eating mud. Yeah. So we put Weasel in the fanfic. So she's alive in the fanfic. But I'm trying to think of any Azor Ahai. She often cries. That's some water. Then the lion. Lannister men are after her. She's courageous. She eats bugs and mud. Maybe Weasel. Tell us everything you learned when you met George R. R. Martin. I don't know. I've told the story of meeting George R. R. Martin a few times. I met him at Balticon. There was a dinner that you could join, and so I and some others paid to be at this dinner. And George went from table to table talking to people, and it was very clear that evening he didn't really want to talk about Ice and Fire. He kind of like sat down at all these tables and had like prepared stories that he was going to like tell about. He had a story where he was talking about the translation of Direwolf in French not really like working out, and it was very clear that like everyone at the table did not want to talk about that and like wanted to ask him questions, and like so like people interrupted him from his like story about the fucking Direwolf translation from French, and like because they wanted to talk to him about the questions they had. And so, I had this Italian guy at my table that asked about Lady Stoneheart and if Lady Stoneheart was going to be in the show, and he said no, that Lady Stoneheart wasn't going to be in the show. And then one guy just thanked him. He was just like, I don't have anything to ask you. I just wanted to say thank you for everything you've done. The woman next to me asked him if the others were only evil or if there was more to them. And he said, keep reading. And I asked him, I've asked him a question about a song for Leah about like whether the Grishka was using a Silor, and he told me he didn't remember. And I asked him a question about if he was inspired by Plato's Republic because of like the purple eyes that appear in Plato's Republic, and he said that he read Plato's Republic in college, but he had no memory of it. And I asked him if the Brave Companions were going to appear again, and he said yes, the Brave Companions were going to appear again, but most of them are dead. He said, and I was like, yeah, but like Urswick the Faithful, and he's like, yeah, okay, yeah, and then. But, let's see what else. He talked to the Italian about pizza. He wanted to talk to the Italian guy about pizza. And because he was from Chicago and went to Northwestern, I brought up Chicago-style pizza. And he like said he thought a Chicago-style pizza was an abomination. Even though I fucking love Chicago-style pizza. But that's
Chicago-style pizza is not pizza, brother. I'm sorry.
You could argue that it's not pizza, but it's still incredible.
It's a casserole with tomato. Like it's stop. By the way, the one thing I always love about whenever you tell this story is the first time you told it to me, you told me how you were taken aback at how short he was.
He is really short.
To you, you're 6'6". Like, everyone is short to you. The only
Yeah.
person I've ever met in my entire life who's taller than you is my boy Bryson, and he's 6'7". He's taller than you by 1 inch. 1
Yeah,
inch.
yeah.
And you're never going to meet anyone you look up at. So come on.
It's fun. But yeah, he's a short guy. He's a short guy.
Maybe if you meet
Yeah,
Yao
and he was
Ming.
like really he needed to find a right chair. He has back problems, so he was like really concerned about like the chairs and like whether the chairs are going to provide him proper like back support. Yeah,
So basically, he wanted to talk about everything but Ice and Fire.
he wanted to talk about everything but Ice and Fire, right? Which is
This
why
actually,
I went in there with a plan to talk about Thousand Worlds, because I thought maybe he'd find that refreshing, and he did not. He was just like, I don't remember anything about that.
this is going to
That
be
was
very
that was
harsh.
a big fail on my part.
Did you pay
thinking
to
that
get
he
in
would
there?
want to talk about Thousand Worlds. He did not want to talk about Thousand Worlds either. He wanted to talk about pizza. He wanted to talk about pizza with the Italian guy.
Did you pay to get in there?
Yeah.
What a waste of fucking money. I'm sorry, but it really, truly.
The story's been worth it, man. Story's been worth it. It was really
I don't.
great.
Before you move on, I don't know if Glidus has told the story yet, but Glidus. I mean, George blogged about it, but Glidus and Alt Shift X
Yeah.
met George R. R. Martin, and I think Glidus has said publicly that when he did meet George, they didn't get any Ice and Fire information, but they did get the information on the best place to get chicken burritos in Santa Fe. So
Right.
if anyone's ever in the area, I ask Glidus for the best
Yeah.
places to get burritos. So I don't want to make a fat joke, but man, that really tracks. He just wants to talk about food. That really tracks. Fuck.
Yeah. But some of his like assistants and minions they were so sweet and so nice. But that's about all. Everybody, and I don't know, other people, I found out what other people asked him and stuff like that. One woman asked him about like if Gendry and Arya were going to meet again, and he's like, definitely, that's like an important plot point.
I guess Dave and Dan got that right then.
Yeah, somebody asked about what specific medication for abortion like Lysa took, and that if it was this and this and this, and George is like, I don't know anything about like medication for abortions. I just like wrote moon tea as a thing. Like, that's it.
That tracks though, because
yeah.
I don't know if it's ancient Rome or ancient Greece, but there was a plant that women would eat, and it would pretty much be birth control, and they ate it to extinction. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. It's a tea. I saw a play about it, and I totally forgot what the name of it was, but I can look it up. But it's not exactly like 100% effective. Like, but nonetheless. Quinn the GM had a theory for Faceless Men at the Citadel. He is there to replace the next Grand Maester elected after Pycelle's death. Thoughts on it? So we're talking about. So everybody thinks that the next Grand Maester will be Grand Maester Gorman, because they tried to make Gorman the next Grand Maester. They're going to get rid of Pycelle, and they're going to have Gorman. But then when they found out that the Tyrells wanted Gorman, they were like, no, Pycelle's still in. No, we're keeping Pycelle. So the idea is that he would be in line, considering that the Tyrells have so much power now, that they would just choose him again. Now, if it's the Faceless Man that wants to replace him, I mean, it's an interesting idea. I think that what we know about the Faceless Men is that they want the glass candle. Like, that's known just because from the long prologue. I've meant to do this video on the long prologue for a while. I think I should probably do a video on the long prologue now. But George wrote several versions of the prologue for A Feast for Crows. He has a short one, a long one. He has one called the Rosie prologue, which is from Rosie's perspective. And he has the final one that we read. The long prologue is very revealing. There's a lot more in that about the geography of the Citadel and the geography of Old Town. the stuff that is in that got the stuff on the geography of Old Town made it into the world of Ice and Fire. So that got brought over. But there's some stuff like what the underchambers look like, what the masks and rods that you read about in the appendices are. Originally, like the rods that they talk about, there's a glass candle in them. All the archmaesters had a glass candle. This has been, obviously changed by George. But the original story was he wants the glass candle. And Pate is not stealing a key, he's stealing a glass candle. And he actually like puts it in his pant leg and gets cut all up and like passes out from blood loss and wakes up. And Jacques Hagar is like explaining exactly what glass candles do. That dialogue has been chopped up and given to Marwyn in Samuel 5 and things like that. So I don't know. For the most part, it seems like they want the glass candle. Now, what they want to do with the glass candle, I don't know. But I think I once theorized that they were looking for Bloodraven or something. But finding someone with a glass candle, talking to someone with a glass candle, trying to influence somebody through dreams or whatever with a glass candle. But it seems that the mystery was, is he interested in that book, the tome, Blood and Fire, or what? Well, it seems that he, at the end, Pate is in there with the glass candle. It seems like he's going for that. So yeah. So I don't think that they're interested in the Grand Maester. I think his end game is that glass candle and what the glass candle leads to, that power. But it'd be fun. It'd be fun if he became Grand Maester and made it to King's Landing. That'd be fucking fun as hell. But I don't think it's that based on the long prologue. Did you read the long prologue, Carmine? I gave it to you, yeah?
The long prologue? What are you talking about?
The long prologue. I gave you the long prologue. The Feast for Crows long prologue.
Did you?
Oh,
you'll have to resend it to me. I don't remember. When did you do this? The last thing you sent me was Mel, and before that, Davos. Was this last year?
So remember G-Steph took a picture of each of the pages of the long prologue, and then he gave them to you, you gave them to me. I object recognitioned it, took the text, and have the text form of the long prologue. But yeah. So I'll give it to you. It's fucking great.
By the way, I'm reminded before you move on, I have to bring this up because I don't remember this. But shout out to Man Band who reminded me. He says, "Wait, didn't Preston make a comment at this dinner about wanting Avalon to come out instead of Winds, and everybody around him got annoyed?"
No. I don't think anyone around me knew what I was talking about. I think George got annoyed. Maybe George.
You think George got annoyed at that?
I don't know. He seemed confused, and I was like, "That's a joke." So I said, I really love Thousand Worlds. I said, some of your stories like A Song for Leah and Meathouse Man, like they're incredible, real punch in the gut, like. And I was like, and if you want to set aside Ice and Fire and finish Avalon, like, go for it. And he just kind of like just sits there, and I was like, that was a joke. And he still didn't react. But like no one around me would have understood what I was talking about. Like, how many people know about Avalon? Like come on. Like no one was annoyed at me or anything like that. But George just kind of looked at me confused, and I said that was a joke, and he still just kind of looked at me confused. I was like,
what year was this? Was this 2014 or 2015?
2016.
Damn, dude, that was
9 years ago. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's such a weird feeling, like sitting next to George R. R. Martin back in 2016, because at that point, you were up there in the community. You still are, but this was before like all the random ass people trying to grift
Mhm.
on this came on, and it's I'm sure it was a weird feeling sitting there going, "This motherfucker doesn't know that I make so much money talking about his shit. He doesn't know who I fucking am, bro. I could write this shit for you right now."
No, no. What? First of all, there's not much
I'm
money in what we're
playing.
doing here.
I
I don't know what you're
know.
fucking talking
I
about.
know. Someone asked me, "How much money do you guys make?" Well, it depends. You could make as much as Robert Downey Jr. in the Avengers, or as much as a Burger King worker in North Korea. It depends.
It depends
Somewhere
on your
between
video.
there.
Yeah, it depends on
Depends
your
on the
video.
video.
Like, I mean, yeah, like Berserk with the Boys that's less than minimum wage. I mean, for we're making no money on Berserk with the Boys.
To the
Um,
person who DM'd me and were confused about what I just said, it's because one of the main criticisms Preston gets is that he thinks he can write the story better than George. No, it's not. It's just me making fun of those people that say that.
oh right. I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, I mean, for a long time, people are like, oh, Preston Jacobs, he's just in it for the money. He's just in it for the clicks. He's just grifting. And I was like, we're not on the right level for that. Like, like if my views were fucking 3 million views per video, then you could be like, yeah, he's in it for the money. But that's not where we're at, like it's a different fucking world like down here. This is like the for fun like uh area of YouTube. And then there's the up that where it's like your career kind of thing. Which is well above what we're doing here. This is a part-time hobby. But
This is why I always like shake my head at people who started doing Ice and Fire content post season 8. We're
mm,
never going back to the popularity that it was at its height
right.
during Game of Thrones. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah.
Why are you starting now? Now is when you start, where we're in a dry period where
Right.
House of the Dragon is fucking
Look,
up? Really?
if House of the Dragon were on year round and and it had the intensity and interest year round, that could be a job, like but that would be it would take that, right? That's funny. But
Like I
no,
like I know you try to give everyone a fair shake. I just if you started your channel post season 8 and you're doing ice, I just don't care. Like, you missed the boat. Just move on, do something else. Or
I mean,
people are still
people tell
doing
me
ice.
to move on and all the time, but
Well, there's always something to talk about.
there is always something to talk about. But with Blood Meridian, I have not. Getting to this super chat, I have not read Blood Meridian yet. I understand that people ask about me. People ask about Blood Meridian. Like, I swear, like at least once every 3 weeks, somebody's asking about Blood Meridian. Um, Born in Tennessee during the Great Meteor Shower of 1833, a teenager referred to as the Kid runs away from home, traveling south down the Mississippi River towards Texas. Um, yeah, so we're getting. I mean, the fact that it's like down the river. Um, Travels across the United States and northern Mexico. Offers the scalps of slaughtered natives for payment. After shootout erupts in a cantina during a passing funeral procession, Glanton realizes that no one can differentiate between a Mexican and a native scalp, and the gang begins destroying villages and scalping its inhabitants as well. Jesus. Um. Oh my. What a story, man. Okay. All right. This is something I need to. Everybody tells me I need to read. There's a few books that just keep coming back that everyone tells
It's
me.
it's Cormac McCarthy. He did No
Yeah.
Country for Old Men, The
Mm,
Road.
yeah. Yeah. Let's see. I'm triggered by the name Tyrek because he's not a because he's a horse. Oh, any ideas on who George will make the Winds of Winter prologue point of view? What do you think will happen? So what we know about the prologue in a factual sense is that um, George has said that Jane Westerling will be in the prologue of a feast of the Winds of Winter. That's the only clue that that George has given. Now, for a long time, there was a group think in the fandom that that meant that um, Forley Prester, who Forley Prester agreed to take and transport the hostages from Riverrun back to the crag. That if that were the case, then like he might be the point of view. The problem with that theory, and that way, and keep in mind that was like a big group think for a long time that he was going to be the POV. The problem with that is, and that the Brotherhood without banners would like maybe attack him, and that would be like the story. The problem with that is that like Jamie passes Jane Westerling to him, near the end of A Feast for Crows, and then he goes and he has his adventures at Pennytree, and then Jamie is missing for weeks in the epilogue of A Dance with Dragons for the first day of winter. So we're talking like several weeks, if not a month, has passed since Jane Westerling was passed off to Forley Prester. So he would have delivered her. Like that would have been done. Like, so, for that reason, in the fanfic, I went and made the point of view a maester at the crag. And the theory for that was, well, if you look at the alternation of the prologues, that Game of Thrones prologue is north of the Wall, and A Storm of Swords prologue is north of the Wall, and A Dance with Dragons prologue is north of the Wall. And they're different people, Night's Watch, Wildling, but they're all north of the Wall. And so the idea is that odd number prologues are north of the Wall. And then your even number ones are Crescent, a maester, and Pate, a novice. And so the idea would be that even number ones are maesters. So for the fanfic, we went with maester at the crag. Plus, just maesters have so much information. They're great. They're great to have in an exposition sense. And which is why like Maester John is the point of view in the fanfic. But this is the information we have, is that Jane Westerling would be in it. And there is a very, very loose maybe idea that maesters alternate on even number books. Like that's about it. And that the group think of the fandom for a while doesn't seem to hold any water because, it's just not in the right time period if you're talking about the prologue. But yeah. So, I mean, the problem is that, like, again, if it's Jane Westerling and she's made it back to the Westerlands safely, it would be more about establishing all of this stuff that happened. Like, we have not touched the Westerlands since A Game of Thrones. Since Robb attacked the Westerlands back in A Game of Thrones, have we really been back there? And there's a lot of houses and a lot of history and a lot of connections between them and the Ironborn and all sorts of stuff that needs to be established. And so I think a prologue would spend a great deal of time establishing Westerland's lore, family relations, plot lines, and such, which is what we did with the fanfic. we had House Case involved and what's going on with House Spicer and things like this, you know. But I think, like, you know, do I think George's prologue would look anything like with the fanfics? No, I don't think George's prologue would look anything like the fanfics. But I think it would probably be a Westerland house where a lot of story and background on the Westerlands is given, in order to like prepare for this much of the story to move there. But that's my guess. But we're basing this off of very little information. So Azor Ahai myth is you think it's based on the story of a Azi Decada from Zoroastrian lore, and he has a depiction of having 3 heads. A red dragon with 3 heads. I mean, it's let's see here. I mean, that's interesting in the sense that Zoroastrianism had like people pray to fire in Zoroastrianism, like that's the direction of God. But let's see here. Mythical 3-headed dragon or serpent figure found in various fictional works from ancient Iranian mythology. Yeah, I mean, could be. I mean, it's surprising to me considering that Azor Ahai has no connection to the prince of the prince that was promised in his original appearance, and that's built upon later in a Storm of Swords. I mean, that's be surprising. But I'm trying to let me. Trying to think besides like his name starting with an A and him having a 3-headed dragon, like if there's anything more. You know? Because, you know, 3 is a pretty common number. Dragons are pretty common. Like, fire worship is pretty common. I'm trying to. Oh, here we go. Zahak. Zahak. Here we go. The other thing that's weird, I mean, George doesn't know much about, like, he knows a lot about European history, but he's not exactly a huge expert on anything outside of European history. So I don't know. I mean, it could very well just be a coincidence that you have a 3-headed dragon. But I would have to, you know, does he appear in many forms and it just happens that one of his forms is a 3-headed dragon? He describes the monster as, here we go. Azi Dahaka is the most significant and long-lasting of the Aziz Avesta, the earliest religious text of Zoroastrianism. He's described as a monster with 3 mouths, 6 eyes, 3 heads, cunning, strong, and demonic. Is that really a dragon? Is he a dragon? Like, I understand that he has 3 heads, but I don't know if he's a dragon. Is he? I mean, I see this. The AI says this thing, but I'm like, here we go. He's a mythical creature that some people say is roughly equivalent to a dragon. Gigantic snake-like creatures living in the air, in the sea, or on the earth. I mean, kind of. They kind of look like in a Chinese dragon sort of way. Depicted as a giant snake or lizard with wings. This gets in. You saw the did you watch Glidus's dragon video? Carmine?
No, which one?
Oh, the one where he goes through like George of the Dragon and what the dragons look like and things like that.
Is this a newer one?
He did it a few months ago. Because he was going off of like it was a long video on the sigils and the 4 legs versus the 2 legs of dragons. And how dragons just like fucking look like anything in history. So I don't know. The thing is having a long serpent-like creature who sometimes has 3 heads, and then declaring that it's a dragon. I don't know. It's I would need something more if I were going to think that Azor Ahai was based on that. I need a little more because a 3-headed serpent thingamabob. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's a 3-headed dragon in fucking Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, maybe it has 5 heads, but there's 3-headed dragons all the time. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Bloodraven will give the dagger to Aegon at the end of the season. The dagger is what Dunk will show Lady Rohan in the 2nd season, and what Aegon will show to Maester Lothar in the 3rd. Do you think they're going to throw in Bloodraven? Carmine, do you think they're going to throw in Bloodraven in season 1?
Season 1? No. Season 3? They have to, of course.
They have to.
No, but I don't think the dagger is making it that far. I think the dagger will be perfectly safe because who do you think would have the dagger? Baelor or I don't think Dunk is going to have the dagger. I don't think.
I mean, King Maekar should have it, right?
King Maekar should have it, or
his heir.
No, Maekar should have it because. Yeah, because if they're going with House of the Dragon continuity, then House of the Dragon sets up that the king and his heir know about the prophecy. So you're right. Huh.
So it could be Daeron. It could be Daeron or it could be Maekar who have the but the dagger doesn't get passed until the person dies, right? So Maekar has it, and Maekar dies. No, let's see.
But we had the what was the idea that we had is that who's the Targaryen that threatens Tansel Tutul? I forget his name. It's not Aegor, it's Aerion. The idea that we had, which I would love, is that Aerion for some reason has it and he's threatening Tansel Tutul, and you're
right.
Like,
I mean, that's the more striking thing, right? That like Aerion's for some reason has it and he's waving that dagger around and he's using it. Right.
Right, but if Aerion has it, we know that Aerion eventually dies, I think in Essos. So how the fuck does it come back to Westeros? So somehow Aerion needs to have the dagger. I guess he gets punched in the face. Maybe
he loses it loses it. Egg gets it for some reason.
Right. Wait, no. We're putting the cart before the horse here. So right now, who has it is Aemon, and if Aemon has it throughout the entire series, it's going to be lost somewhere in the God's Eye. So how does it show up again? Any Targaryen could have it at that point, or any random character could have it. So, by the end of all these spin-offs in like 10 years, it really is going to be that scene from Warlord where they're making the bullet. It's like the fucking, you know what I'm talking about? The
Yeah,
bullet.
yeah.
I think you actually did a video on this where the cat's paw dagger goes through like all these people.
Wait. Okay. I'm sorry. Let's go back here a second. I'm sorry. I fucked this up. So Makar doesn't. So Baelor is the heir, and he's the one that everyone thinks is going to become a great king, and he's the one who let's see. So could they have given Baelor the dagger early?
The heir has to know about the prophecy. If we're going by House of the Dragon continuity, the heir has to know.
Yeah. Because Baelor is. So here's the thing: is like Baelor is Hand of the King, and he's the heir. So maybe he is given the dagger early, knowing that he's going to be so important or something. That's the only way to show
again,
up.
You're getting a little too far ahead because we don't know how they get the dagger again. Because as of right now, Aemon has it, so that means the dagger will be lost in the God's Eye.
Oh, you're saying that it leaves the passing out down from Targaryens.
It has to, because Aemon loses it in the God's Eye. Unless House of the Dragon Season 3 or Season 4 does something where Aemon gives it to somebody or someone takes it from him.
They find Aemon's body. Aemon's body is found.
But would it have the dagger on him? See what I'm saying? Like it really...
Yeah, I don't know. But I'm saying like it's Daemon's body that's never found. Aemon's body is found. With Dark Sister's, I think, sword like through his eye or something. So Daeron doesn't show up. So the person that should have the dagger is Daeron, if it's still getting passed down. And he doesn't show up. Baelor does. So maybe he gave Baelor the dagger early. And
honestly, it really depends on the first season of Night of the Seven Kingdoms and the final season of House of the Dragon. It really depends on what they're going to do. Are the two production teams communicating about this specifically?
I think in a showing it off story sense, Aerion is the one that should have it because he's going to be using it. Because there's violence and stuff with him. He's threatening Tansel Toothall and stuff. But you're right that logically speaking, why would Aerion have it over all of these other Targaryens that come before him?
Actually, no. I do know why he would have it. I'm so dumb. Why didn't I think about this before? So from Aegon 1 to Viserys to Rhaenyra, they always told each other the prophecy. But Rhaenyra never told Aegon, Alicent's son. So he's currently the king, and he doesn't know about it. And I don't think Rhaenyra tells anybody else. No, she tells Daemon.
She tells Daemon.
But Daemon doesn't tell anybody else. So when they all die, the prophecy is lost. So the dagger doesn't necessarily need to be passed down to the heir. So anybody can have it. There you go.
You're right. It's just a random fucking Targaryen dagger.
Random Targaryen dagger. There it is.
No one knows that you got to put it in the fire and see the secret message and all that. Unless so really it's just now one dagger among many that's getting passed down in the family. Aerion sees it and likes it. And like, has it.
But if he has it, how does it come back from ASOS?
I fucking got it. I got it. Let's hold off. Okay. I'm just assuming that it's on Aemon's body. They find his body. His dagger is there. It gets
Okay.
they strip him. They put it back in the armory. It's getting passed down in the Targaryen family. It doesn't matter at this point. The prophecy's lost. But Aerion now has the dagger because he thinks it's cool. Threatens Tansel Too Tall with it. It gets knocked out of his hand by Dunk, and then picked up by Egg, so that he can't hurt anybody. Like in the conflict, Egg's like, got the dagger or something. Now Egg has the dagger, but not knowing how important it is, and then Egg at some point has it fall into a fire, and Egg discovers randomly the prophecy, thinks he's the chosen one, leads to Summerhall.
There it is. Preston Jacobs, the Kevin Feige of the Ice and Fire cinematic universe. By the way, that's actually something I was talking about with somebody. I think the Ice and Fire spin-off universe, DC, CU, whatever, the cinematic universe, they need a Kevin Feige figure. Because that's what DC was lacking for the longest time. They have that.
Yeah.
They have that now with James Gunn. So we kind of do need a Kevin Feige. I hope it's not Ryan Condal. Jesus Christ. But we need like a Kevin Feige-esque figure running this whole shindig. What do you think? Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, the thing with, not that Kevin Feige's perfect, he's certainly not, but he does have a particular singular vision about what Star Wars is and where he wants Star Wars to go.
You mean Marvel?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kevin Feige. Yeah, I was talking about the Star Wars guy with the hat.
Oh, Dave Filoni.
Dave Filoni. Because Dave Filoni has that role in Star Wars, right?
No, not exactly. He might.
As he's like taking over more control. I understand Andor was outside of that, but he has control over the surviving properties of Star Wars. You know? So,
we do need one person like that. And I do think I have the guy.
Yeah.
Elio talks about him being in the room when George was telling Dave and Dan all the secrets about the books. There was one guy on the laptop. If fucking Dragon the Mans was here, I know he's gonna be watching this later going, oh. So he'll be in the comment section. But there was one guy who actually knows the final pages of the book because George told Dave and Dan.
Yeah,
and
I was
this one guy,
talking earlier about the Ty Frank thing that you're telling me about. Yeah.
not Ty Frank, another guy.
Oh.
He directed some episodes. I forgot his name. I'm sure Dragon the Mans will be yelling it through the screen right now, but he has it on a laptop how the books end. So I feel like that guy should be it, or maybe Ty Frank.
Do you think Duncan Egg has the potential to be good? I think it has the potential to be great. I mean, it's a fucking great story. Like, it's a great, great story. I think the only thing that the thing that makes me nervous about it is that it was given way too much time. Like, I don't think there's 6 hours of story. I think there's 2 hours of story, and it's a great fucking story. I think it has absolute potential to be great. I'm really excited about it. I'm just very nervous on like, how do you fill that fucking time? Which is why Carmine and I are constantly like joking and laughing about all this fucking random filler shit that they're going to throw in about prophecies and daggers and fucking Blackfire rebellions in order to try to fill out 6 episodes. Cause man, it's a great fucking story. One of George's best. But how do you fit that in? How do you fit that into 6 hours?
The only way I can see it is it not being 6 but being 3. Every episode is like 25, 26 minutes because I don't see how they could do like a 45 to 50 minutes of content. I really don't. So how are you going to do that?
Daggers and prophecies, man. Daggers and prophecies. And that's the thing is like inventing scenes makes me like fear that they're going to somehow fuck it up. Like they're going to have an opening scene of Sir Eustace like knighting Dunk on his deathbed. I'm just like, and which will like ruin everything for me. I'll be like, fuck, no, you didn't get it. You fucking idiots. You know, like I fear it's going to be something like that.
The only way they could really stretch this out to 6 episodes if the first episode does not start with his death, but they like save a village or do a random side quest. Then he dies at the very end of the first episode. That I can see them doing. That would make a
Yeah.
lot of sense to stretch this out.
So J7 is making a lot of sense here. Riot to steal Sansa, get Lolly Stokeworth pregnant, and Santigar because he knows about the dagger's true owner. He does. That's true. Get Lannister ward for his collection. Yes, all that plays into Littlefinger's hands. That's a good idea. The only thing that would make it even more perfect is if the Kettle Blacks filled the role for Preston Greenfield's death rather than Balon Swan, but it's Balon Swan that comes in there.
When is he going to reveal this master plan?
That's cool. That's to who, right? Oh my goodness. It's so frustrating seeing even educated people like Preston think socialism is when the government pays for things. US politics is cooked. Dude, like, first of all, socialism has a million definitions. You can't find one definition of socialism. But if you're talking about like the basic sense that the means of production are controlled by like the government rather than being privately owned, then of course it's when the government fucking pays for something. That's the controlling of the means of production. So like this idea of like, oh, even educated people don't know what socialism is. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, dude. There's a fucking 200 definitions of socialism. But if you go with a really basic one about means of production being controlled by the state, then yes, when the fucking government like does something, like pays for something, they're controlling the means of production. Like what the, like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Yeah. Like if you want to make a statement like about like what you think socialism is, put it in there rather than just being like, oh, it's so disappointing that Preston doesn't know what he's fucking talking about. Well, then tell me what the fuck you think it is, motherfucker. Like, Jesus Christ. The whole, we're all fucking cooked because Preston's stupid. Well, why? What? Like, you didn't provide anything there, man. No substance. Just broke up with my first girlfriend. I know it's the right decision in the long run, but I feel a lot of pain right now. How'd you deal with breakups? Well, in truth, like each of us has a hole in us that's this big that needs to be filled with companionship, right? And the thing is that like, in truth, lots of people can fill up most of that hole. Like, and the difference between a great person and a good person is kind of marginal, you know? So like when you first break up with someone, the pain you feel is huge because you've got a hole this big. And so in my experience, yeah, the way to get over a breakup is to get out there and date again and get a new girlfriend and get it, you know, and fill that hole with somebody. Now, granted, that's often not very nice to the rebound. You're essentially find a rebound. It's not nice to the rebound because you're using somebody to be a placeholder until you find somebody better. But if you're talking about making yourself feel better in the short run, yeah, going out there and finding a rebound is the best way to get, like, ameliorate the pain from a breakup. Like, and you know, I think everybody, a lot of people like do this. But also, like, if you don't do the rebound, you run the risk of trying to get back together with the ex. Like, you will have that hole and you'll be so home lonely and you'll be like, oh, I need to call them, you know? I mean, if you know in your heart of hearts that it's not going to work out with this person and you need to like and go cold turkey and move on, well, then move on. But yeah, like getting out there and dating and spending time with other people and new people is the way you do it. It's the only way to do it. is to find a rebound. I don't know. What do you think, Carmine?
I actually spoke to years ago. I actually met and spoke to a relationship YouTuber,
Hmm.
and maybe you can attest to this. He told me best way to get over a breakup, if you can, is no contact,
Yeah.
therapy,
Hmm.
and gym. Go to the gym.
Oh, sure.
Um,
That's all.
so
That's all. That's all some good positive stuff as well. Because like one of the things is you do want to um, you know focus on becoming a better person and like do all of the activities that you feel you ought to be doing with that new time. You do want to get outside, you do want to get the endorphins from working out, you want to be healthy, you don't want to fall into any sort of rut of depression and things like that. That's all very true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you also got to keep your mind occupied. If you have nothing going on, then you're gonna go back to that person. If you have nothing going on, it's yeah.
Yeah. um I don't know. Communism as a word doesn't sound too bad as an idea. No, is there an example of world history of communism thriving? Or say just $37 billion in debt, not 37 trillion. Um, I mean, let's see. There are some places with communism that aren't so bad. Like people talk about Kerala, India, and stuff like that. I mean, I'm no communist. I'm not here to defend communism, but I don't necessarily think that there's anything super wrong with it. You know, it's it's what depends what you mean by communism, because communism also has a million definitions. But again, I'm not a communist. But the there's a lot of things. It's weird how many times people are really into things that don't have historical examples of things working out. Like there are so many libertarians out there who like believe in small government, and you're like, okay, historically, when has small government ever worked out? And you're like, oh right, it never fucking works out either. Which is why, like, I mean, if you go the reverse, I say like, when I say what's the best working systems in the world, I would say the Scandinavians have the best working systems, so we should probably emulate them. Um, and so, but when instead people are like, well, let's get rid of government and be more like Somalia or something. I'm like, why? Why? Like, just look at the earth. What countries are the best run? Um, you'd say, well, probably, Denmark, Sweden, Finland, emulate them. So that's my opinion. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, how did the Faceless Men know Bloodraven is still alive? Wasn't he born more than 100 years ago? Hmm. Um. Let me think. I mean, I guess there'd be various ways to try to figure it out. You could kind of say, okay, maybe they figured it out because from visions and dreams that he's still doing shit and still causing trouble. Um, Maybe he interacted with some wildling or brother of the Night's Watch that was north of the wall and ran into him and let them know. Um, you know, maybe they. I think there's ways to figure it out. They're like, why do our Blackfire rebellions keep failing? Why did the Nine Penny Kings keep failing? Oh, because Bloodraven was doing some shenanigans. So I mean, I think you could maybe figure out that something's going on up there. That a three-eyed crow is causing trouble. Because somebody had some bad visions. Recently started George R. R. Martin's other works, finished Fever Dream, and with Morning Comes Mistfall, starting TW Now. Great stories. The food porn never changes. Well, it just gets worse and worse. I mean, he it's true that he was always kind of puts food in his stories, but man, it grows more and more and more. A Fever Dream is great. With Morning Comes Mistfall, but yeah, I think you should try Dying the Light. There's definitely some food porn in that. Sand Kings, Song for Leah, and my favorite, which is The Glass Flower. I think Glass Flower is incredible. Yeah. Is Azor Ahai a pizza or a burrito? Man, pizza, I would never speak that ill of pizza or burritos, man. Like, but in this sense, it's like, oh, it's a pizza burrito. Like you're thinking Azor Ahai, you get this story about Azor Ahai being a pizza, and you get this other story about the prince that was promised being a burrito. And then all of a sudden you find out that they're a pizza burrito. And you're like, but you clearly described like barbacoa and like avocados and like like, oh, how is that a pizza? And they're like, no, it's a pizza burrito. Has no wins, made you as depressed as it has me. No, I've settled in. I've settled into it. You know, I've accepted it for a while that it's just never going to happen. So, you know, it's at this point, you know, it's like mourning a dog that's been dead several years. You know, how do you feel about well, Carmine, you still have a lot more hope than I do.
We discussed this briefly in a video from a while ago, but I told you how if we ever do get Winds of Winter, it'll be bittersweet. Do you remember what I said in regards to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be really fun. Obviously, we'd have so much content. It'd be so, you know, it'd be great.
On one hand, yeah, but on the other hand, all the bad stuff about it comes with it. You're going to get spoiled because there has to be that one person who wants to make their bones on YouTube, who wants to be a YouTuber, who wants to make the money, and they're going to spoil it for everybody. It's going to be trending on Twitter. Spoilers for the book. You can't avoid it. It's not like I remember. Were you a Harry Potter fan growing up or coming out of
No,
college?
no.
I remember when the Harry Potter books were ending, and they were this huge event where everyone went to like the book
Yeah,
signings and all that stuff. And there was no social media back then, so the only way you could get spoiled is by going to one of these books and someone yells out spoilers. Now it's way
right.
easier to do that. That's the sad reality, is that we're not going to be able to enjoy this together because there are people who are going to upload the entire book into an AI and upload it all over and spoil it and try to make money off of it. So
Right, but I kind of know that. Okay. I mean, you're right in the sense that like I won't be able to read it slowly. I will have to binge it.
I
Like
hate that.
I know that it'll come out. If it comes out, I will order the electronic copy so
Of
that I
course.
will have it on day 1. I will get it and then I will immediately just read it. And I will read it from cover to cover, and that'll be the end. Like that'll be it. Which is what people did with Harry Potter. You know, I was dating a girl at the time who I remember when one of the books came out, and she's just like, she got the book, and then she just sat down and she read it. You know, and that was it. Like one sitting, she just read the whole book. I think it was. Maybe this was when Goblet of Fire came out. I'm trying to remember which one it was.
Probably Half Blood Prince. That came out, I think, 2006, maybe 2005.
Um, maybe it was before. Maybe it was before. Maybe it wouldn't have been. I'm trying to think like how much of a feat it was to just read a book because like the first 2 books are pretty short, right?
Kind of.
Yeah. Harry Potter page counts by book. Okay. It's um Sorcerer's Stone, Chamber of Secrets, Azkaban, Goblet of Fire, Order of Phoenix. Oh no. I want to say it was Goblet of Fire, but it might have been one of the earlier ones, in which that case it's not. I mean, then it's just 300 pages or 250 pages. Maybe it wasn't that much of a feat. But I remember hearing about other people like I was working with a guy. I mean, he's around my age, and he was like, yeah, we did this trip to Japan, and I was like, oh, what'd you see? And he's like kind of ashamed. He's like, oh man, I no, I had to take the family to Harry Potter Land there. And I was like, oh, like for the kids? He's like, no, it was for me. Like I'm a big Harry Potter fan. And
Yeah.
he was like super ashamed. He's like, and I was like, dude, I run a YouTube channel where I fucking talk about Ice and Fire. Like what the, like you're not gonna be like you're never gonna be ashamed, okay, in front of me, okay? Like don't worry. You can fly to Japan and go to your Harry Potter land. I am not gonna fucking judge you. Like
I do think that we missed the boat on having a very decent release for wins, and I think that was 2015, 2016. Because what's
oh
the
yeah.
thing you always used to tell me about Westworld season one, how it was such an event. After every episode,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
everyone came together on social media before the
Oh
Nazi
yeah.
bullshit,
Oh yeah.
just theorizing about what was happening. I missed the boat on season one Westworld. It sounded like such a cool time, and I do think we missed the boat on
Yeah. I mean,
having a
obviously the
really good
party it
time.
would have been like the big thing is like had it come out, had Winds of Winter and Dream of Spring come out before the ending of the series, it would have been a completely different world. People would have just been fucking crazy. Would have been nuts. Would have been
I agree
nuts.
with you.
Yeah. But now,
Even I'll even go. I think the best time was either middle Game of Thrones or right after it ended to wash that bullshit out of our mouths. But I think as much as I want it now, I also maybe might be satisfied with it never coming out. I have hope, but I don't know. We'll see.
yeah. Um you asked why you said Littlefinger took Tyrek in your Littlefinger debt video. I summarized your own points. LOL. Oh, J7 was like, okay, that was yeah. Thank you, J7. I knew I did. I knew it was there, but like, yeah. I thought like J7 was like, this is it. That was the summary of the Littlefinger debt scheme. All right. Thank you though. Thank you. What do you feel? What do you feel watching world leaders sucking up to Trump during press conferences, including leaders from EU, NATO, and Japan, have to say how great a negotiator Trump is? Um, I mean, it's obviously like sickening that like, but they're they're just like trying not to make waves. You know, it's like Emperor has no clothes, like that kind of thing. All being sycophants because they just they don't want Trump to be randomly putting on tariffs for no reason that are just going to hurt everybody. His mind is fucking gone. Like it's amazing how fucking brain dead he is. Outrageous stuff. Oh, by the way, Carmine, did you watch the Hunter Biden interview?
I've seen bits and pieces, and
Mm.
wow, that guy is. Whew. It's crazy how much like his daddy talks. He
Oh
just
yeah.
like
I mean,
exactly like
he's
him.
obviously, but he's also like insanely smart at the same time. Insanely smart. Um, it's crazy. Like it's really jarring. Like you're like, wow, you're really smart, and also, you're also pretty wild. Like at the same time. Um,
I will always remember, by the way, when those pictures came out and those videos came out of them doing hard drugs and getting his cock sucked.
yeah,
I showed you, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
your reaction. Do you remember your reaction? What you said? I
Um,
do. Can I say
what?
it?
Well, sure. What I say? Oh,
Yeah, I showed it to
he's
you.
hot or something. What
No,
did I say?
no, I show it to you, and your first reaction is, Wow, what a king! Preston,
But
is
he
this
made
the
the
guy
point,
we want?
like it is true that like Trump was in the White House, and he like pointed to the Declaration of Independence, and he's like, you know, there's the Declaration of Independence, and the thing about the Civil War is maybe it could have we could have like not fought it and saved like 600,000 people's lives. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? What does that have to do with the Declaration of
What an
Independence?
idiot.
Like, what the fuck? Like, you're fucking brain dead. Like, he's like, you know, going on like ramblings about windmills and shit. Like, it's just in the middle of these trade talks. Like, he's fucking brain dead. Absolutely, utterly brain dead.
Yeah, he's an idiot. He's always been an idiot.
It's yeah. I mean, they would have never let Biden get away with that kind of shit. Jake Tapper would have been on it. Where's the Jake Tapper book? Is Euron pro White Walker? I don't know if we know if Euron knows anything about the White Walkers, but he obviously has some weird ideas about jumping from towers and feasting on a world that's dying. But even in his visions that Aeron sees, assuming that Euron kind of sees the same stuff, like there's nothing in there about White Walkers. So I don't know if he knows about them. Or if he'd even be pro White Walker.
Pretty sure you've reached the end of the super chats.
That's
possibly.
good, because I am ready for bed. I have a friend who worked
really?
at Japan's Harry Potter Land. He played the owner of a wand store. Oh, I mean, oh my god! Like living in Taiwan and Japan and China. I've lived in all three for a while, for different times in my life. But there's a significant difference between what is marketed to children and adults in Asia versus like America and or in the West in general. So like say there is like we generally accept that like going to say like if you had a Hello Kitty land, which there is a Hello Kitty land in Japan, Sanrio land, that's like for kids, and like an adult would never go there unless they were bringing their kids. While in Japan, Taiwan, China, you're allowed to go places as an adult that are made for children. Sometimes even alone. Like people can go to karaoke alone in Japan, in Taiwan, in China. Like going to like a karaoke place alone to sing songs by yourself to like kill time. I feel weird going to the movies by myself. Some people do this in America all the time, but do you go to the movies by yourself, Carmine?
No.
Yeah, like I've done it like twice in my life, but some people do it all the time, like go to movies by themselves. But to go to a amusement park for children as an adult by yourself is really like that's the weird thing. So like around Christmas time, you know, you try to find fun stuff for your kids to do in Taiwan. And, you know, you want them to experience some sort of Christmas. So you like, they have a Christmas market in Taipei, and you go down to the Christmas market and like, you know, people are there and they have like people in suits, you know, taking pictures for the kids, people in reindeer suits, Santa, that kind of thing down there. And you want to get your kid a picture with the reindeer guy and the Santa guy. And there is this fucking line of 25 adults. Like, just like, can I get my fucking kid to get a picture with fucking Santa? Or do I have to wait? I have to wait for fucking 25 different groups of adults getting their picture with Santa. Like Jesus Christ, like just let the fucking kids have their fucking pictures. But yeah, I imagine Harry Potter Land in Japan is a whole bunch of full-grown adults. There are some weird fucking
Well,
weird.
yeah, because the stigma. First off, entertainment has exploded wildly for starting with Gen Xers and
Yeah.
definitely millennials. Millennials, I feel like we are probably the luckiest generation ever because my God, millennials were bombarded with entertainment from the moment we were kids. I know you guys,
Mm,
you're Gen X. You guys had some level of entertainment like Star Wars and
sure,
GI
sure.
Joe or whatever the fuck. But bro, we as kids not only we had movies and TV shows, but video games. Oh my, card games. Card games evolved. So, and the stigma around being young and liking this stuff and still being older and liking this stuff is gone. So, of course, you're going to have a lot of people who are going to go to Star Wars Land and Disney being adults.
Yeah, yeah.
Not only that, but Comic Con. Come on, it's really cool to dress up as Boba Fett at Comic Con or one of the stormtroopers that gets shot by Luke. Come on, you know that. Come on.
Yeah, yeah. There's some weird times. There's some weird times where it's just I'm trying to think like I think I saw Avengers alone in Cairo. I saw Castaway alone in Singapore. It was like when I was traveling and lonely. Um and I once went, somebody gave me a free ticket to go to like Ocean World in Hong Kong. And I went to an amusement park by myself in Hong Kong once, which was also really weird. Like just me by myself going on a roller coaster. Like it's really weird. But man, I just couldn't imagine Sanrio Land or whatever. Like I understand that like Disney World has adult places and stuff, but it's Disney World. Would you go to Disney World as an adult without kids?
Yeah. If I was going with like a couple friends or a group of people, yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Okay.
I've never been,
Okay.
so I would like to.
Yeah. It's because now it's like the Jenny Nichols like thing on that Star Wars experience that
Hmm.
shut down. Like, wasn't that like $1,000 a person?
I think it was something like that. But here's the problem with going to stuff like that is that I want to go to these places, the Star Wars Hotel, I want to go to the Harry Potter Land, but I dread running into someone who is way too overly invested. You know what I'm talking about? Like
Mm,
when you, for
yeah.
example, I want to go to the Star Wars Hotel and see all the actors do their thing, but I would fucking hate it if someone is way too into it and they're like, "Watch out for that guy." Bro, shut up. It's a play, like stop. Like we're all here because we like Star Wars, but
I
don't
think I
overdo it.
think at Disney World they have an adult land where like there's like clubs and bars and there's
There
no
is,
kids
yeah.
allowed.
Mhm. I'm talking about grown ass adults being way too into the plot and acting out or trying to fight stormtroopers. Like, guys, they're just
Sorry.
actors. Leave them alone.
Jenny Nichols' son. I said Jenny Nichols, but yeah,
Hmm.
they'd be Nichols in a different country. But yeah, Nichols versus Nichols' son.
I would love to go, man, but I'm sure it's way too expensive. It's way too expensive. So
Yeah, yeah. There's a House
eventually,
of
your
Blues.
kids are gonna want to go. By the way,
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like is it gets to the point where certain things are expensive, but then you're like, with um, is it worth it for a kid who may not appreciate it? Which I'd say, like, even if my kid loved Star Wars, does he love it $1,000 worth? Because I can also for $1,000 I can entertain that kid with a lot of different stuff. You
true.
know, you could take him to fucking a, a rock gym for literally 2 years for that amount of money. Like so.
But also, you need to be very, very, very careful with that mind, with that level of thinking, because that experience does help your kid get into other stuff. I had to explain to my mom a while ago that her giving in and buying me all this crap when I was a kid, all this Pokemon stuff and
Mm.
Yu-Gi-Oh bullshit, whatever the fuck, getting me the Nintendo games, that led to me like liking all this stuff and wanting to go out and talk to all these people and doing this and being so yeah. It led to all that. So maybe you should kind of give in and take your kid.
Well, I mean, for the most part, where my kids are pretty spoiled, but
I'm sure. Yeah.
it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting because you're just like the the you understand that it's all like everything they do is commercial and it's not important and doesn't really build for their future or anything like that. But at the same time, the joy that they have for certain things is real. And so like even if something is dumb, like I can look back at Transformers. Um, and Transformers, like the cartoon, it was just trying to sell toys. The toys, they're cars that turn into robots. There's nothing really deep about it. But the joy that I had for Transformers was real. That was a legitimate joy.
You like
You
the
know?
original Transformers?
Yeah, absolutely. You know?
The Transformers more than meets the eye.
Yeah.
I love that stuff
Or
too. Yeah.
He-Man or whatever. Like, that. So it's weird. But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Well, also, real quick, because Willow here said something interesting. The stigma is gone, yes, but also it pays. So I actually a while ago, a couple years ago, I never told you this, but I should have. I kind of want to have him on the podcast. I met this guy who does Pokemon. He does
Hmm.
Pokemon content. The guy just bought a house, and I asked him, "Did you really buy this house?" Talking about Pokemon, he goes, "Yeah." And if you think about it, he was able to buy a house, get a car, looking at buying another house, all because his
Hmm.
mom made the correct, lucky decision to buy him that Pokemon game in '97. It really
Sure. But
is
then
like you
there's a
never
million
know.
people that like obviously waste their money and get nothing out of it. But
I mean, if you want to look at it that way, sure. But I mean, how many times did you hear people growing up, get off those video games? You're never going to make something of it. There are literally millionaires who have made something of playing video games.
sure, but I think there's a lot more of like people that are like, why don't you get a job? And the guy's just playing his video games all day, and his girlfriend leaves him because he's just sitting on the
Girlfriend.
couch. You know,
We
there's
going that
plenty of
far.
them.
I
There's a lot
guess.
more of them than the guy that becomes the professional gamer and earns $1 million.
Hmm.
I would say here's the thing is I say this to my wife all the time. I'm like, look, I may not be, look, I've got a lot of flaws. I've got a lot of fucking flaws. But graded on the curve compared to all the other fucking men in the world, I'm awesome. like like I am. This the thing is like if you are a man who stays moderately thin, has a regular job, is not addicted to video games, and like is fairly liberal and like accepts like women's rights and women's reproductive rights. Like that's essentially all you fucking need. Like, and and you're not like abusive to women. You don't hit them. That's all you fucking need. Like, there's so much, and you're not cheating on your girlfriend or your wife. Like the bar to be an excellent man in the world is so fucking low. It's so fucking low.
Let me go a little
But I
farther
put
with
I
you
put
there.
video game addiction on there, drug and video game addiction, because there are so many guys that are addicted to either drugs or video games or gambling or
True.
something,
True. Gambling. Oh
and
yeah, that's a big
that
one.
where it destroys them. So like it's all you have to do to be like an acceptable, passable man is, you know, don't hit or don't beat your girlfriend, don't cheat on your girlfriend, like, support women's causes, and like don't be addicted to gambling, drugs, video games, and have a job. And you are in the 99th percentile of men on the planet. Like it's
Actually, I would go a little far and say you got to be interesting. Being charismatic is kind of a must.
Oh, I
You
mean,
probably you gotta get you
I'd
can get
say
away a lot being
I'd say in your 20s, man. But once you hit your 30s, dude, like, look, if you're in college, yeah, you got to be funny and interesting and handsome or whatever to attract women. But then after that, like, the men
charismatic.
just fucking try. Like, it gets really bad, man. It's just men just drop off. That's the thing, man. Phone addiction, gambling addiction. Yeah. No, I
Preston,
mean,
ultimately, I think
YouTube
we should come to
addiction,
the
sure. Porn
conclusion here that
addiction, not
Preston,
working for ICE, don't be red pilled. That's what I'm talking.
take your kids to Disneyland, man. Come on, don't come on. They'll appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah,
Take your kids to Disneyland, to Star Wars Land. Pay that $1,000 that grilled cheese,
yeah, yeah.
that delicious Disney grilled cheese.
So I put a Zelda on here. He said, read a book on your lunch break. Oh, I thought he said read your book on your lunch on I was confused. I was like, oh, you read The Dreams of Ghosts and Indians. I was like, damn it, maybe he did. Preston's painting a beautiful picture of my future. Look, look, I will say this, like, generally speaking, you're like, the life of a man in his 30s is much better than a life of a man in his 20s. And the reason is that you have a lot more money, confidence, success, experience, everything. You're so much better in your 30s than you are in your 20s. But you can still date the same women. Like, if you want to date a 23-year-old in your 30s, you can, and you're just a better version of that. So, like, whatever you're like in your 20s thinking you don't have anything of, you'll have it in your 30s, or have more of it in your 30s. So and now, obviously it's a different world for women. It's we live in a sexist society, so yeah. So, but men have a lot to look forward to in their future. Like, if you're in your 20s, you got a lot to look forward to in your 30s. You get everything, but more. You get everything you want, but more. Thinking women. Well, I mean, no offense, thinking women are that desperate in their 30s is when birth rate is going down. I mean, birth rate's going down for a lot of fucking reasons. I mean, of course, like men being fuckheads is one of the reasons, but it's also just, we're all so fucking busy. We're all so fucking exhausted. It's really fucking hard raising kids. It's really fucking hard. But yeah, but I'm just saying that, like, I mean, women are not a monolith. No, of course not. But, generally speaking, there's bio clocks, man. Like, that's just all there is to it. Like, a lot of people are really interested. Like, most people are interested in having children, or at least half. And if you're a woman, you've gotta start finding someone to settle down with, and that's just the facts of life. If you want to have a kid, while men can go around and play and be children for a decade longer than women. Like, men are afforded that luxury and women aren't, and that's just the biological fact, and it's just but not that women aren't different, of course they are, but it's just, we're talking, relationship doesn't begin and end with children. I mean, children are a big part of people's lives. I mean, big part. Let's obviously, like, if children weren't a big part of people's lives, like there wouldn't be people. But no, of course not. You don't have to have a healthy relationship or marriage. No, but I'm just saying most people do want kids. That's it. I mean, what is like, that's why they killed Roe v. Wade. No, they just hate women. That's true. They just hate women. Because if they were really interested in increasing birth rate, they would have things like more maternity leave, paternity leave, daycare, affordable daycare, things like that. Yeah, there's a lot of sentiment in general. Z people against having kids right now. I imagine. I mean, I don't know. Oh, okay. I wasn't directing President comment. Yeah. I imagine there's I mean, I don't understand. Like, I don't know what's going on in the sentiment of younger people, but I imagine it's going along the lines of the global trend of birth rates dropping, people feeling like they don't have the money or time to raise kids because it's fucking exhausting, man. It's man, that's the thing is like you can look at like how difficult it is to raise like one kid or two kids. And even to get to the point of like, let's say you're really like in it for pain and you want 3 kids. You're only making up for like 1/2 of someone that doesn't want any kids at all. Like Carmine, you said you're not interested in having kids, right? Or is that personal?
Not really.
Am I revealing personal information?
No, I've said that out loud. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not really interested. Nor do I want to be anybody's stepdad. I'm okay on that one.
What's funny is I have a friend who thought that they would never be interested in that. Like they hated kids, and then they met the right person and they were like fine being a step parent. They were like, huh. But you never know. But that's the thing is like having 3 kids, which is fucking hard work. You've only made up for 0.5 of Carmine for not who doesn't want kids at all, right? You having 3 doesn't even make up for like half of Carmine. There needs to be somebody else like busting your ass with 3 kids, and 3 kids is busting your fucking ass. You're still not making up for like, you're only making up for half of somebody that doesn't want kids at all. So it's mad. Preston, I need to hear about my 30s life. I'm 29 and absolutely killing myself to get into the airlines for the past 6 years, working myself raw through school and military. I need some hope. Oh man, look, I think when I was 29, I had a lot of anxiety about like, where is my life going? And am I getting everything done? Now is the end of fun and things like that. No, like 30s are great, man. 30s is where your career kind of starts to take off and you start getting money, you start getting confidence and knowledge, and everything goes better in your 30s for the most part, so it's all fine. Breeders always say that they have one friend who said they hated kids and then end up loving it. They're trying to trick you. Maybe. Look, I understand completely, like, the desire not to have kids. I mean, geez, who would want to have money and travel the world and sleep and have like who would ever want all of that? Oh my gosh. That's the thing is like love kids and they gravitate towards me, but I never wanted to have them. Yeah, I mean, it's really fucking hard. It's hard. It's oh, got 4 kids. Made up for you, Carmine. Yeah. But the thing is, once I got a Carmine, then we got Trey. Trey doesn't have any kids, probably. I don't know. Trey didn't say he was that interested in kids either. So, oh well. Oh no! Look, man, this is the big thing. At least for men, I most men I know enjoy their 30s more than their 20s. I will say that each decade of my life personally has gotten better. I enjoy every year of my life is I mean it depends how you define happy. Like I don't know if I have as many moments of like fun now that I'm a family man, but certainly like I'm very like everything is very rewarding and you know with children, at least my experience with children, everything is very rewarding, and I feel much happier in that sense, and so at least for me, my happiness, like my life happiness, is probably like it was going up, and then I hit middle school, and there was like huge plummet. And then it rose, and I got happier in high school, happier in college, happier in my 20s, happier in my 30s, happier in my 40s. Like, generally speaking, life gets better as you get older. Maybe there's going to be a point where everything starts falling apart for me, but I don't know. But, you know, like I don't need to convert anybody into family men. Like, if you don't want kids, don't have kids. I don't care. We got there's plenty of people in the world. It's fine. I'm not one of these people that like thinks that the world is in crisis or anything like that because of declining birth rates. But I'm just saying in my personal experience, I've enjoyed having kids a lot, but that's just my personal. There's a lot of things I like that you guys probably don't care. Probably don't care about, I mean, I don't know. I'm not that different. I'm like trying to think about the things I like. I'm like, I like going to eat sushi. Oh wait, everybody likes that. Having kids is gay. What's gayer than having kids? Um, Why does Elon think humans are going extinct? Elon is just too like online. He's too down in his manosphere, that kind of thing. That's the thing. It is the incel thing. Yeah. Oh man, oh man. So Carmine, any last things before I head to bed?
No, other than I'm in the middle of editing the podcast we did yesterday. You got so offended when I told you I wasn't that big into Superman like you were.
Carmine and I talked about Superman yesterday. We watched Superman.
I thought it was okay. You loved it.
I thought it was great.
I thought it was okay. But you got. I'm listening back to it. I didn't realize how offended you got. You're a little bit offended that I wasn't as into Superman as you were.
I don't know if offended is the right word, but I was definitely like got fiery in defense of like why I thought Superman was a fucking incredible movie.
It was all right.
See, this is the thing is it's usually me hating. Remember, like our reviews are usually like, oh yeah, I thought you being like, I thought it was like an 8 out of 10 and me being like, it was like a 5, like most things it's like that. Most things you like it.
Not really. You really liked it, or I shouldn't say you really liked it. You enjoyed Acolyte. I thought it was bad.
I thought Acolyte was forgettable. I didn't think it was horrible, but yeah. But I thought Superman was incredible. But that's good. It was good. We'll get into this. You guys listen to it, but it's like I put a lot of value on endings, and that was a fucking great ending.
people were upset. I actually forgot to bring this up to you. People were upset that they changed Superman's parents, his Kryptonian parents, because they were apparently they were never like that in the comics or any iteration of the comics, and some people were very upset that Superman parents are kind of crazy Nazis. Um, I think it works because
So
that
the
ending is so
comic,
good.
they're never evil in the comic, but there's a couple iterations where they're kind of neutral. Um, I don't want to say that like, the harem thing is like, it's not that far off of like some of the comic iterations, but you know, you know, but I thought it was pretty good. But the thing is like, I read comics, and so like when I'm like, oh, this is actually a comic book movie, and it feels like a comic book movie, I'm like, huh, you know, I thought it was pretty good, pretty good. I mean, what do you want? What do you want? It's a James Gunn movie. It's fucking. He knows how to make a movie.
He knows how to utilize music very well in his films. Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It was fine.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you the portion of it. You can upload it tomorrow if you want.
Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. But what is completely right on sushi? I think the mistake some people make with sushi is they want to try all these different types of sushi, and it turns out like, only some of the fish tastes good. Don't worry about don't grab like the mustardy fish roe, like sea urchin roe, like your first time in getting sushi. Stick with your tuna and your salmon, and work your way up to different things. But if you just go and you eat sushi and you just eat tuna and salmon your first time eating sushi, you'll be fine. But if you go in there eating sea urchin egg, you'll probably be like, ew, sushi, ew, ew. All right, thank you everyone for sticking with me, and I will, we'll talk to you guys soon. All right, thanks Carmine for being with me.